Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears as we get into missing people, missing time, portals, everything to go along with it. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing is here tonight, his brand new YouTube channel, and we want to make sure all of you by the end of the night hit subscribe on that channel. And I know Steve is a big supporter of what we do here on Spaced Out Radio. I would love to see his audience hitting subscribe here as well. Dirty Fylth is here with another great cartoon, and all of you are here as well, and we love you for it, so thank you so much. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position, Roger Murray taking home the silver, and Edna with a bronze medal tonight. Good to have you both here. And hi, Michael Morris and Catheta Cat Gray. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for joining us. James Weston, how you doing? James will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. John Sabe Mellon, how you doing, buddy? Sundance Kid, how you doing? Good to see you. Monica, thank you for joining us. Roy Boy, Chris 716, Raymond L, Kurt Ebb, Donna, Penny Van, and Emmy Tong, how you doing? T2E is here. T2E will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Brown Dwarf, nice to have you here. And Stephen Edmond, nice to see you. And where are we in our group? Number 14, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Always on the starting lineup. He's that good. Simon, how you doing? Good to have you here. Hi, Thin Lizzie Barden. Good to see you, my dear. All right, continuing on. Let us go to Ed Clater. How you doing, Ed? Nice to have you back. Amy Vegas. Oh, we love you, and we'll see you in a few weeks at our Vegas party, May 19th through 21st. So excited to see you again, my friend. Markham and the gorgeous Amy WC. How are you? Mama Susan, Pat Toohey, Robert Lamoth. Good to have you all here. Hi, Forrest Louie. Thank you for joining us. Vixen Doe, thank you for coming on back. And in roll call here, there's Dirty Fylth. And who else do we have here? Jamie Johnson, how you doing? And we continue on here saying hello. Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got aliens. Oh, you jerk. You're a jerk. I love you, buddy. Millennium, my man. Dutch Hank, how are you? And let's see, where else are we? I'm a little rattled by that. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Hi, Matt Geek, Vash the Impaler. I did get your email. Vash, thank you so much for sending that. I'm going to give it a read tomorrow when I get some time. TMI, Richard Elmore, how you guys doing? And there's Doc from Wyoming. And Rob G, how you doing, bud? Chillgasm, nice to see you here. And Gizmo and Pixie Lara, good to have you here. Gansfeld, Chekhov Call, welcome to SOR Chat. And TMI, my man. Pam Harris, good to see you. As we continue on here, we are running out of time. Hey, Zeus, how you doing, my man? Penman, there you are. Sweet Donna C, nice to see you. Forrest Louie, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. We're going to get the radio side started here. So that way we can get Bill WD-40 into the chat room. And, that way he can lube us up for tonight's show. And let's go here. Where are we here as we're running out of time? Let's see here. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. All right. Gong Show. Nice to see you. Gray Troll. Good to have you back. And Christine Lynn, Tamisha Bertrand. Thank you for joining us. Jen A. Nice to see you. And Henry X. Welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Love V Love. How you doing, sweetheart? Let's continue on. And Tangerina Arena. Welcome to SOR Chat. Oh, we're running out of time here. Will I have enough? I don't know. Super Chat is open. Store is open on our website. And Jose Maguina, how are you? War Criminal, good to see you. Everyone else, horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliate around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show with you tonight. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing on YouTube is here to talk about missing people who just vanish. We're going to get more into that in a little bit. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp for another spooky story. Then right after that, it is the shortened cryptid report with Super Duke. Finally, after that, it's Dave 101 night, and we'll have the weird news of the week. Let's get right to it. Steve Stockton is the voice of his brand new YouTube channel, Among the Missing, where Steve and his team look at these mysterious ways that ordinary people just like you and I vanish from the planet. Are they being kidnapped? Are they walking into portals and don't even know that they're missing? Is it aliens? Is it mountain critters and apex predators? Is it Bigfoot, Dogman, or other mysterious little markers out there that cause people who are generally healthy, generally in good shape, just vanish into thin air like they've never been in that spot before, whether it's on their own or whether it's with people around them? It's some of the high strangeness that we are all trying to solve, because missing people shouldn't just vanish. There should always be a reason. And one of those people who's looking into the reason is, once again, from Among the Missing, Steve Stockton. Steve, it is so good to have you back on Space Out.
Hey, Dave, always a pleasure to be back. Hi to everybody in the chat. See a lot of my people, a lot of my supporters here. Good to see you here. Hit that like, subscribe, support Dave up here. He's doing the Lord's work here, Dave.
Thank you, my friend. You know, you're one of the good guys in the field. The only thing that really upsets me, and I know our radio side won't be able to see this, but man, you trimmed about 7 inches off your beard, and I'm not happy about that, Steve.
At least, and I understand, but it was getting in the way. It got in everything got in it. Final straw was one day, it was cold out here in the high desert. I zipped my jacket up. I was looking down, and when I went to straighten my head up, I couldn't. And I zipped my beard up in my jacket, and I thought, so, but my girlfriend likes it, so I'm growing it back out, but it's going to take a while.
I bet. It's always a pleasure to have you here, Steve, because you are always so filled with information, and your brand new channel, Among the Missing, is taking off very, very quickly, which is nice to see. For you, when you look back at why you got started into missing people, I mean, is it the fantastical mysteries as to how people vanish? How did this come about for you?
The very first case, Father's Day, 1969, Dennis Martin disappeared in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I lived in Knoxville, the same town as Dennis. We were about the same age. I was 5 going on 6. He was 6 going on 7. And that just stuck with me. It was kind of a loss of innocence for me that, yeah, sometimes kids just like myself can and do go missing and no trace. He was never found. And I followed that case from day one.
Man, being that young, it amazes me because I remember when I was 7 years old, Steve, and where I grew up in the southern part of British Columbia, southwestern part, what they call the Fraser Valley, which is in the Lower Mainland. Vancouver is part of the Lower Mainland, and we had heard about this serial killer going around that was hunting children. And before Clifford Olson was actually caught, he had
Mhm.
murdered 14 children, and was Canada's worst serial killer at that time. Because in Canada, we had never heard of, that type of violence, especially against children. And I remember, like, previous to that, nobody in our house ever locked their door.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Clifford Olson was the guy who really forced people to all of a sudden be locking their doors at night. I mean, this was unheard of in this area. But then again, Vancouver wasn't the metropolis that it is now, where the area maybe had in total 300, 400,000 people. Now it's well over 4 million in that area, right across. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting how something like that can really, really change the dynamic of a society so quickly.
Yeah, indeed. And that's all it takes is like you can look at across the board, all the serial killers kind of changed society in some way. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, just on and on and on. Just covered. I've got a true crime channel now too that's just debuting, True Crime Breakdown, and it covered the Israel Keys case, probably one of the most notorious serial killers that a lot of people have never heard of, and some of his victims have never been found. So again, there's overlap there with what I'm doing with Among the Missing, the true crime, and then the supernatural and paranormal that I cover on 13 Past Midnight. It's like a Venn diagram. I'm right in the middle, and then all these circles overlap. But that's the thrill of it for me is to find those connections. And I know, like for the UFO thing, about a year ago, you and I were at a UFO conference in San Francisco, and that was what my talk was about. If you remember, I talked about how people that had gone missing and came back had similar experiences and memories to people that had been abducted and what they remembered or didn't remember. It's fascinating. It's all connected, my friend.
How often do people who go missing come back?
It just depends on the circumstances and where they go missing, environmental conditions like the weather, the terrain, and things like that. I think at any given time, there's about 1,600 people that go missing from our state and national parks, but a lot of them do come back. A lot of them are found alive, but it's the ones that aren't found, no trace, or if they are found, there's strange qualities and strange circumstances there as to how they were found and where they were found. Oftentimes in an area that had previously been searched, maybe many times, and then suddenly there they are, either alive or deceased. Almost like something is some sort of cosmic trickster, pranksters out there that has something to do with that. If you've ever read The Rebirth of Pan by Jim Brandon, he delves into that, how in a lot of paranormal cases and things, there's some other element at play there that's almost like tweaking our noses a little bit with some of these mysteries.
Oh, I can tell you, man. And the problem is we don't know. We can assume, but we don't know what is causing a lot of these people to vanish. I mean, we've heard stories of people hiking through. I recall one. I believe you were talking about it, where a lady and her father. No, I saw this one on TV. Pardon me, where a lady and her father were hiking in one of the national parks, and her dad was elderly and couldn't. They were lost, and she left her dad by this cement wall. Well, by the time she got down the hill and found somebody to come help her to get her dad, they went back up there. Nobody ever knew about a cement wall in the forest of where she was saying. It appeared out of nowhere. Her dad has never been seen since. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
I covered that case. It was I think she even went as far as to describe it as a concrete structure,
That's
and
right.
no one knew of any concrete structure that had ever been that area or was supposed to be there. Yet that's where she left him. She went back, no concrete structure, no dad. So what happens in a case like that? That's just so far out of reality that it's inexplicable.
I tell you, the mysteries continue. And Steve, I have a buddy of mine. I've shared this story with my audience before, so they may be a little bit familiar with him. My buddy Mike, he likes to go hunting, and a lot of times he goes out by himself because he's not afraid of the forest or anything like that. And this happened about 2017, 2018, where he's out hunting and he's walking this trail line, parks his vehicle down in this gravel pit, and then walks back up to the main road in order to scan the side of the side road that he just drove down for grouse and rabbits that he was hunting that day. And he gets about 2/3 of the way down, and this is about 7:20, 7:30 at night. I'm about 20, 25 minutes away from where he is in the forest, and he starts hearing my voice all around him. Help me, Mike. Help me. Come in here. I'm over here. Help me. Mike, help me. What would cause something like that, man? Like, we hear stories of the little people or the forest dwellers, and a lot of times if you follow that voice, you're never going to be seen again. And I
Yeah,
told him, I said, I'm so glad you didn't go because I don't think you would never have come back.
Indeed, I've covered several cases like that where there was some sort of mimic, some sort of entity, creature, spirit, whatever it was, that could perfectly mimic the voice of the person's loved one. Sometimes maybe deceased, sometimes still living. I covered the case of one guy, I think he was in Oregon or Washington State, that went missing. Heard his girlfriend calling to him from across the river. She was at home and didn't even know he was missing. Covered cases where people heard voices coming out of a cave. Sometimes the voices they recognized, sometimes they didn't, but people asking for help or come in here, I'm stuck, help me. And especially if it's sounds like somebody that you know they're not there. One case I covered, a guy heard his father calling to him from the cave. His father was back home in the hospital at the time. There was no way he could have been in the cave. So there's something to all this. There's a supernatural. Now, a lot of these cases can easily be explained with natural explanations. The elements, the weather, people being ill prepared or over enthusiastic with their about their own abilities and things done by misadventure. It's really easy to get turned around in the woods if you're not used to the woods and you don't know how to either use an orienteering compass or have a GPS or personal locator beacon or something with you. Can't chart by the stars unless you can see the stars, depends on the canopy cover. I've been turned around in the woods. Even Daniel Boone, the great trailblazer, somebody asked him once if he was ever lost in the woods. And he said, no, but once I was bewildered for 3 days. I wish he'd expounded on that statement. Now, what would it take? This was a guy that made his own trail through the Cumberland Gap and places like that. What would it take in the woods to bewilder a frontiersman and an explorer like that? I would love to know the full story behind that, but sadly, he never told any more about it.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I had an encounter. I took a number of family out to my Sasquatch gifting site one day. And so we go up the logging road. I park where I normally park. Okay. And our Sasquatch gifting site is a couple 100 feet into the forest. So we follow the trees in and we get to our site. We get to the place where we found footprints. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, we got to get going. And I've been there at that time probably 50, 60 times. I'm very familiar with what it looks like. And Steve, I turned around and I didn't know where I was.
That
And
sounds similar to a lot of these cases. People will be on the trail, maybe a trail they've hiked many times, familiar with. Suddenly, they realize they're not on the trail anymore. They look around; they haven't been on the trail as far as the line of sight, and they don't know where they are, how they got there, how to get back. And there have been cases where people were lost under similar circumstances to that, and they could hear and maybe even see the rescuers in the distance. They're jumping and yelling and waving their arms, but it's like the people searching for them can't see them or hear them. Is that a dimensional rift, some sort of portal or alternate reality that briefly opens up, you step through it and you don't even know you're there. And then how do you get back out? Fascinating.
Yeah, it's completely fascinating. And in that situation where we were, and I'm looking in our chat room, my buddy Mark is in there, so he knows the place very well. I still, it still freaks me out how a place that I'd been to 50, 60 times, I didn't know how to get out. And it's amazing how quickly, when you're in the forest, how quickly the panic sets in because everything starts looking the same. All the trees look the
Absolutely.
same, the grass looks the same. And the only way I was able to get my bearings so quick was after about 2, 3 minutes, I actually heard a vehicle coming up the logging road. And immediately I was able to tune back in. Okay, the vehicle's there, which means the road is there. Now I know our way out. I mean, but it was scary because there was like 5 of us there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Panic sets in, and like you said, everything starts to look alike. Every tree, every rock, every bit. And I've interviewed people that have said that. I was walking and walking and walking, and suddenly I realized I'd passed the same rock 3 times. I hadn't gone anywhere but in a circle, and it's either some confusion that sets upon you in the woods, or that's just part of our nature, is to walk in circles. Now, there's ways to combat that. The line of sight, where you stand in one spot, pick a spot directly ahead, go to that spot, look behind you constantly to make sure you're traveling in a straight line, and do that like leapfrog on and on and on. And you can travel somewhat in a straight line that way, depending on the terrain. Because sometimes you have to go around trees, rocks, ravines, hills, hollows, all kinds of things. And the other thing is to follow water. If you can find a stream and you're lost, you've got water to drink. Whether it's fit to drink or not remains to be seen. But if you follow that water source downstream, you will eventually find people. Maybe miles, days away, but it'll take you there. But the other thing they tell people to do if you're lost is to stay in one spot. Particularly if you've gone out in regards to, say, you're hiking, and that's another important thing. Let people know your itinerary, where you're going to be, how long you plan to be gone, when you plan to be back. And that way, if they haven't heard from you in a certain amount of time, they know to send somebody and look for you. There's been cases where people just spontaneously went hiking, didn't let anybody know where or when they were going, and then they were never seen again and maybe weren't missed for a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, and you know, we've told our audience on that part as well that if you're heading out into the forest to try and figure out, you know, you're going for a hike or you're going try and find a fishing spot or whatever, if you have nobody to contact in your community, just call the local police department, the non-emergency line, and just say, look, I don't know anybody in this town, or I'm visiting, and this is where I'm going, and if I'm not out by 11 o'clock at night, please come find me, you know, and I'll
Yeah.
contact you for that, you know. So I mean, there's a lot of little safety issues that you really have to go through. Like my buddy Mark, I mentioned, he's in the chat room. You know, when we go out in the forest, Mark is my first phone call, because I know he knows the area where we're going. And if he doesn't hear from me by a certain time, like last weekend, we went out. I said, Mark, if you don't hear from me by 7 o'clock, you know what to do. And he's like, yep, no problem. I call him up at 2:30 and say, hey man, we're at home. You know, I mean, 4.5 hours later, it's just simple
It's
mathematics.
just a good practice to get in that habit. Leave a note in your car. If you're in a national or state park, check in with the ranger station. A lot of those trailheads, there'll be a logbook you can sign there. There's ways that you can prevent yourself from going missing. But being prepared is the biggest thing. Take extra clothing, extra food, extra water. I've heard people say that if you're only going out for a 2-day hike, pack like you're going for a week. And yeah, it's a lot of extra stuff to carry, but it's a lot better than the alternative.
You got that right. And you know, it's funny. Today I was in our local sports shop. I actually picked up a couple of compasses today because I've
Mhm.
never had a compass. Don't know how to use a compass, but I bought one for my son and one for myself, just in
It's
case.
a good skill to have.
You just never know. You
'Cause
just never know.
that's what I started out with, a regular compass, and then later an orienteering compass. And if you've got a topo map and an orienteering compass, that can save your life. But these days, little thing like that. This is an old school one from back in the '90s, but that's an E-Trax, a Garmin. This has gotten me out of a lot of sticky situations. But make sure you take extra batteries, because it won't do you a bit of good if you can't turn it on. And you can chart your waypoints and things. You can find your way back out exactly the way you went in, or you can chart another course. And unless they turn those satellites off, that will always work. And now they have the personal locator beacons. They've come down a lot in price. They're $200-300, but you can actually send out a signal, and they can pinpoint you to within approximately 3 feet of where you are, depending. The only person I've ever heard of that was lost with one of those that triggered it, that almost wasn't found. He had fallen in a ravine, very narrow ravine, and they just happened to fly over where the signal hit just right in the rescue plane, and were able to find him that way.
My
But
goodness.
it sends out an SOS and bounces it off the satellites. Some of them you can even text and things via satellite. It's amazing the technology we have. Avail that if you're going to be out in the woods. It could save your life. Hey, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, yeah, it's a good one. We got 3 minutes to go before we got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing on YouTube is our guest tonight. Steve, one of the big things that I love is portals.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do believe these portals are out there. To me, it makes the most sense on why people are vanishing. Where 1 minute they're there, you and your friend are walking on a trail. Next thing you know, you turn around, your friend is gone, and yet your friend is reporting, well, I was watching you the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think about the portal aspect?
I believe in it. There's something to it. I've had people ask me, is it Dogman? Is it UFOs? Is it portals? Is it Bigfoot? Is it serial killers? Is it human predators? Is it animal predators? The short answer is yes. It's all those things. It depends on the individual circumstance in the case. There are some cases where those things can overlap, but portals is a viable option. If you look at that, a viable answer. Because how else would you explain that? I mean, we don't understand or know portals, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. And I've reported on so many cases like that where somebody literally just went around the corner, ran around the curve in the trail, never seen again. It was like they stepped into something. Like, remember the old TV show on Saturday mornings, Land of the Lost, where they went over the falls and through a portal, and then they're fighting dinosaurs in an alternate reality, something like that. And I've had people ask me, if you came across a portal in the woods, would you go through it? And I'm telling you what, if I had my little dog and my fiance with me, yes, sir, I would step right through there. I'd love to know what's on the other side. Maybe couldn't get back, but what if I didn't want to come back? What if it's great over there? Or then again, maybe I'd be stuck over there fighting dinosaurs, but I'd have my girl and my dog. So there you go.
Do you think a lot of these people who maybe go into these portals are still alive, but on our timeline, they're just gone?
Absolutely. And there's been cases like that where people have been missing and were found or came back. Sometimes they don't even know how they got back, but wherever they were, one guy had been missing just for a few hours. They found him in a place that had already been searched. That happens. And he thought that he'd been gone for days. And I'm like, no, you're only disappeared for a few hours. He said, that's impossible. I saw the sun rise and set at least twice. And then the other side of that coin, there's been people that have been missing for 2 weeks, yet when they're found, they're like, what are you talking about? I've just been standing here and, maybe a half hour since I've seen you guys. And they're like, man, it's been 2 weeks. So there's something afoot out there.
Well, let's get into some of these stories when we return on Spaced Out Radio, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, a great YouTube channel with all sorts of strange missing people cases. How do people just vanish? How do they just disappear, whether they're in a forest or whether they're out for a beer with the boys in the middle of the city, and poof, they're gone. So many cases like this that are unsolved and unparalleled with high strangeness. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Go to his YouTube channel, hit subscribe. We'll be back in the next half hour with missing people stories. All right, we are
Clear.
here.
What do we got? 5 minutes. I'm going to run my dog out real quick. Hi, everybody in the chat. I want to say hi to my fiance, Midnight Society. She's not in the chat tonight, but she's listening at home in Massachusetts. Love you, sweetheart.
And I also want to say there is a lot of people in our chat room or from Steve who are listening tonight. This may be your first time here listening to Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, just understand we are a hybrid between a live radio show, a podcast, and the live YouTube
my
channel.
folks subscribe. Show Dave some love.
Thank you. But what we do here is a little bit different. Here, I'll take you out, bud. I'll take you out. There you go. And so what we do here is a little bit different than what a lot of people do because we have to time everything out with our local radio stations that broadcast us. So it is a little bit different, but we do take commercial breaks. You guys get to see behind the scenes and hear behind the scenes of what we do, what we talk about, or when Steve takes a bathroom break. Yeah, so that's kind of how it goes. Hi, Be the Arrow. How you doing? Good to see you. Super Duke. Good to have you on later, Super Duke. And Kay Turnigi or Turini. Yeah, that'd be it. Or Turigny. Is the G silent or no? We'll figure that out. Excuse me. So yes, if you don't mind, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Helps with our algorithms. Hit subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell. We are literally here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Jerry Lahane, welcome to SOR Chat. I found real people on Mars 2004, 6 inches to 5 feet tall. I'll go look at that. Let's see here. Oh, am I missing anybody? Don't think so. Hi, Dirty Fylth.
Hi, Dave.
What are you working on?
Portals.
You're a portal kind of guy.
I would most definitely go through a portal.
You are Mr. Portal. Hi, Delilah. How you doing? Welcome back. If you have any questions for Steve, we'll take questions in hour number 2. And make sure you put them in capital letters because it's much easier for me to find them and mark them. So that would be great. And thank you, Blondie. Subbed and hit that thumbs up on the stream. Nice to meet y'all. Yes, we are here every night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern for 3 hours a night. Major Dixon Butts, otherwise known as Oob Joe's Main. You got aliens. Yes, you do. You and Random Guy have something in common now. You both deny you're aliens. It's good aliening.
I was wearing my You've Got Alien shirt at work today.
Yeah. Yeah. Good old Dirty Fylth. Dirty Fylth.
So
yeah, and blame
cards for Vegas, Dave.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I have to get you to commission a very special piece of art.
Yeah, I could probably do that.
Yeah, I have to talk to you about that, and it will be given out during our live broadcast at the Golden Nugget.
Oh, you're gonna make me go on TV again, Dave?
You're definitely coming on TV. I know you don't like it.
Get all sweaty and smelly.
Yeah, Torini. Yeah, there we go. I knew the G was silent in your last name. I knew it. I think Steve has slow motion. I think Steve has 3 channels. Now he has Among the Missing, 13 Past Midnight, and a true crime one that I apologize. The name is escaping me. I think Thin Lizzy can put it in the chat room. But you want to make sure you have that you're subscribed to all of those. All right. And If you are a wrench, I need our wrenches to listen up here for a second, but if you are a wrench on this channel, please do me a favor, get a hold of Kira. I'm going to type in her email here. We need to get your email information if you haven't already. Business at spacedoutradio.com, business at spacedoutradio.com. It is for all of our wrenches out there. So please do that. We need to compile a list. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag, and you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Steve Stockton from the popular YouTube channel Among the Missing is here, and we're talking about missing people, how people just vanish into thin air. And you know, Steve, there are so many controversies and conspiracies around this topic as to how people are just vanishing. What's your favorite?
Personally, and people that are in the Bigfoot community, likewise, people that are in the UFO community will kind of giggle at you. But I like the Fae theory that if you look at it from step back and look at it from 10,000 feet, the Fae, the fairy folk, which at one time was almost a religion in the Celtic countries and the Nordic countries, still is to a degree. That's sort of the umbrella that everything fits under. I've looked at historical cases from the 1800s, 1700s, where people encountered little men that came from the sky in a horseless carriage. That's a UFO encounter. Or they encountered a hairy giant that came out of the woods. That's a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or Sabe. But again, it's part of the Fae, part of the hierarchy. We've been Disneyfied into thinking that fairies are these little Tinkerbell things with gossamer wings that flitter around and spread pixie dust. But if you dig into that, the history and the hierarchy and what people actually believe, there's elemental sized creatures. There are little ones. There's medium sized ones, and it all fits into that theory. Put it in a box and put a bow on it. But again, you're met with a lot of pushback when you start talking about the Fae folk. People just don't get it. But I can take you a place right now in Washington State, a little place called Yakult, where people have encountered little people, where a whole generation of Native American children went missing after they went to pick berries and were never seen again. The village, every child in the village had been sent out to pick berries. They never came back. And Yakult, it's in the native tongue there, depending on which tribe, it's Valley of the Fire Demon, or a Valley of the Demon Spirit or something like that. So what's there? And again, you play the name game. A lot of these missing person cases, if they will take place in, around, or near something that has devil or Diablo or something sinister in the name. Now, was it called that prior to that happening, or was it called that for a reason by the indigenous peoples? Interesting. It's all connected. There are no coincidences when it comes to this stuff. As Charles Fort said, one measures a circle beginning anywhere. Pick a spot, take off. You'll end up back where you started, and you won't have any more answers, but you'll have some more questions, I guarantee you.
For sure. I want to one of the topics that has interested me lately, Steve, is these sightings of what we call feral people. Okay, these are people who have taken society and they have said, screw it, society. I'm going to live as the animals do, as nature dictates. And they cut off themselves from society. They go build huts and houses in the dirts and in the forests, and they don't like people. They hunt people. and sometimes they cannibalize them. Do you have any stories about feral people?
I've heard lots of stories about it, particularly in the Smokies. That's one of the theories on the Dennis Martin disappearance that I talked about earlier. There's a guy here on YouTube who has a channel called South Force 10. He's an older gentleman, but he claims that his relatives were hired in the 1930s before the Great Smoky Mountains National Park became a national park. The government hired his relatives to go in and hunt these feral people. And according to him, there's some sort of almost like a Bigfoot human hybrid. And they do take people, they take children, and they have been known to eat them. He claims that they ate Dennis Martin. And as wild and as sad as that is, it makes just about as much sense as any other theory when somebody disappears without a trace like that. And people say, oh, that couldn't happen. But even Dwight McCarter, he's retired now. He was a ranger there in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, wrote a very excellent book, was the lead tracker on the Dennis Martin case. He talks about there being, he called them wild people or mountain people, people that possibly lived way back in those woods before the national park, and they're still there. And if they don't want to be seen, they're not going to be seen. They know those woods. I've been to places in the Smokies where I doubt another human had set foot there in hundreds of years because how far back it was, if ever. And people think, oh, that's silly. And I say, well, you've never been deep enough in the woods if you've never been to a place like that. And look at Eric Rudolph, the guy who was on the top of the FBI's most wanted list for a while there, 5 years, 6 years, I think. He hid out in Nantahala National Forest, which is adjacent to the Smokies, very similar. It's not as big, but it's thick, rugged country. And this was somebody with no outdoorsman experience, no survival skills, never been camping, hunting, any of that stuff. He just didn't want to go to prison and took off into the woods and managed to elude the FBI for 5 years. Now, if a person with no skills can do that, can accomplish that, what about somebody that's lived all their life in those woods, like you said, that doesn't like people, that doesn't want to be around people? And there's also a new theory that's being talked about called the containment theory, where those national parks are where they are to contain those wild, hybrid, feral, cannibal, whatever they are, that are in there and keep them away from other people. Let them have their own habitat.
Very true. Very true. Why does a lot of this seem to happen in national parks? Is there a magic about them?
I think there is. If you look at some of the Smokies, Yosemite, Joshua Tree, there's usually some geographical feature there that's why people want to go there and visit. But there's a magic to those places. And although it's not a national park, look at Mount Shasta in California. That's basically, I've been told, an airport for intergalactic UFO activity. You've got Bigfoot, you've got Lemurians, you've got ascended masters. There's something there for everybody. And a lot of these places where there's mountains or a body of water, Crater Lake in Oregon, for example, there's an energy there, some kind of power that's not in other places. And again, you have the wilderness, you have it in a contained area. You can go there and sort of flirt with danger, or if you're not very careful, encounter real danger. I mean, there are people that perish all the time from just normal things, hiking, climbing, ice climbing, being unprepared in the event that the weather turns nasty. Hypothermia can kill you, too quick to talk about. So can not having food or water. You can probably go for a week without food, but a couple of days without water, you're pretty much done for.
Steve, what happens when you see a lot of these cases, whether it's children or adults who go missing, and then all of a sudden, Steve, their clothes appear in a search area, folded up, shoes on top, shoes untied, and that's the only clue that is out there? I don't know who would be folding clothes for somebody who's gone missing.
Well, the common rational explanation for that is paradoxical undressing. Literally, when you're freezing to death, your body puts all the heat out that it can to try to keep the core warm, and you get hot. You feel overheated or feverish or whatever. You start stripping your clothes off, and that just makes you freeze to death faster. But it's happened before when there weren't hypothermic conditions, when it wasn't raining or the weather didn't turn to snow or whatever. And that's strange. And especially the thing about the boots, there's been cases of people leaving their boots behind, even in the snow or in rough terrain. And I've heard some interesting theories about that. I tie it back to the Shanghai tunnels in Portland. I lived in Portland for 10 years or so, and that's a real feature there. You can still tour part of those tunnels. But back in the day when that was like a Wild West town, if you were traveling alone or didn't know the places to avoid, you could go into, say, a saloon or a brothel and never come out again. They would slip you a Mickey, put something in your drink, put you through a trap door in the back. And when you wake up, you're in these tunnels that go all the way down to the river. If you wake up before they have you on a ship headed for overseas, that's how the Shanghai part came about. But I've toured those tunnels, the parts that are still open. And one of the features that really struck me, it's very sandy down there. And there was one area they told us to avoid that area because there's tons of broken glass there from back in the day. So when they dump you down there, the first thing they did before they dumped you was take your shoes, your boots off. So if you do come to you're still inebriated, reeling from the effects of whatever they gave you, it's dark, you're disoriented, you don't have your boots on, and the floor is covered with glass, you're not going anywhere. Well, say if you wanted to hunt humans, and again, we'll say it could be the Glimmer Man, it could be some sort of shadowy UFO connection, or a government entity or entities. But if you wanted to hunt humans and you wanted to make sure you got them, but they kind of had a little bit of a sporting chance, take their shoes in the woods, give them a head start. Okay, take off. You got 5 minutes. They're not going to get very far barefoot or in sock feet and still hunt them down and take them. That's frightening. If you've ever read the short story, The Most Dangerous Game, where the big game hunter was bored with taking down Cape buffalo and rhinoceros and things like that, he wanted to hunt humans because they were intelligent. That's kind of that same thing. And I wonder, I mean, it makes you think, could that be? Again, it makes as much sense as any other theory. Fun to think about, sort of. Not fun. That's a bad word.
No, that is very interesting to think about. I had heard the Shanghai tunnels story before in Portland with all of the glass, and that just makes sense. I mean, let's listen to some of your stories here, because you have a number of them from different places. You have one. Let's talk about Mount Shasta. You just brought up Mount Shasta. What does a place like Mount Shasta bring that is so strange? Tell us a story about people going missing there.
I think it's the mountain itself. I interviewed a girl on Among the Missing. She was, I think, in Texas at the time, or had been in the Bay Area, but she was back home, and she felt Mount Shasta's call. She'd never been there before, but something about the mountain called to her. She dropped everything, quit her job, went and bought a bunch of outdoor and survival equipment, and went and lived on the slope of Shasta in a tent for 5 months. She had encounters with UFOs. She had encounters with what she calls tree people, which you may know as Sasquatch or Bigfoot or Sabe. And again, there's something there. UFOs, Bigfoot, tree people, portals, ascended masters, Lemurians, a city of gold inside there. Probably the most fascinating Bigfoot reports that I've ever encountered were from Mount Shasta. Lady was in a field there in the spring and saw what she described as a female Bigfoot giving birth to a baby Bigfoot. Well, in the same area, a year later, another woman, no relation, they didn't know each other, hadn't heard the other's story. She saw what she described as a female Sasquatch nursing a baby Sasquatch. So was that the same? It sounds like it's same area, kind of same circumstances. One lady saw it being born, another lady saw it being breastfed. But probably the most interesting and strange case of Shasta that I know of is Robot Grandmother. And a lot of people have heard that one, where the little boy went missing while on a family outing, encountered, while he was wandering in the woods, what he thought was his grandmother. He follows her back to a cave, gets in this cave. There's all kinds of weapons and camping gear, and even people that sounds like they're in a state of suspended animation. And He realizes, hey, this isn't my grandmother. She tries to get him to defecate on a piece of paper. He won't do it. And she gets upset with him, takes him back down the trail, puts him on a boulder and says, now sit there. Somebody will find you. Sure enough, short time later, they wandered through. They'd already searched that area, but here he was. Well, flash forward days, maybe weeks later, he's with that grandmother that he thought he encountered in the woods. And he says, I don't like that other grandmother. She thought he meant his maternal grandmother. And she says, what's wrong with grandma so-and-so? He said, no, not her. The grandmother that looks like you and sounds like you, but isn't you. And she's like, what? And he said, you remember when I went in the woods and nobody could find me and everybody was sad? He said, well, you came to me and took me back to a cave and tried to get me to poop on a piece of paper, but it wasn't you. And then the other grandmother took me and put me back. He described her as a robot. Well, the lady kind of freaks out. She calls her son and says, what's going on? Why is your kid telling all these wild stories? What are you letting him watch? What are you reading to him? And the son says, he's been telling the same thing here. We don't know what he's talking about. He doesn't watch any science fiction. We've never read him any stories like that. And then the lady remembers prior to the visit when the kid went missing, months prior to that, she had been camping on Shasta with a friend, and they'd heard something outside the tent in the middle of the night. The last thing she remembered was peering out the tent and seeing red eyes. The next thing she knows, she woke up face down in the dirt outside of her tent and was later found to have puncture wounds in the back of her neck. Now, what is that? Did something take her DNA and make a clone, make a copy of her that lives in a cave on Mount Shasta? And why would you have the little boy defecate on a piece of paper? Was that for DNA to make more clones? I don't know. It's that's one of the strangest missing cases that I've ever encountered. And there's never been a follow-up on that. The name of the boy or the family's never been revealed. But I would love to know. I don't know if he's grown now necessarily or not, but he's obviously older. I would love to know what he remembers about that, if anything. And that's another thing. A lot of these kids that go missing later in life, they have no memory of it. It kind of fades. And you would think something that traumatic is being lost, maybe for days. It would leave an impression on you to where you would remember something about it. But that happens with adults. A lot of adults that are found alive, they have no idea where they were or what happened at missing time, just like in the abduction cases.
That's amazing. That is just amazing. Is there a difference between when adults go missing and children go missing under mysterious circumstances? Are there any differing in clues?
There can be. It's almost like there's a menu that whatever taking people picks from. With the adults, it tends to be an older male of Germanic descent, usually in very good health, athletes, trail runners, people like that, the best of health. But then on the other end of that spectrum, also people with autism, people with special needs, they tend to go missing too. Dennis Martin, he in this day and age, he would be probably marked as high functioning autistic, but at the time in the 60s, he was just, they said he was a special child, that he was developmentally delayed. So what is it out there? Why would it pick the smartest people, PhD candidates, the healthy people, and then also the other end of that spectrum? Not too many from the middle. They all seem to fit within that. A lot of similar people wearing red tend to go missing. You would think that'd be just the opposite, that anybody with a red jacket on. Dennis Martin was wearing red. There's a case I covered from the Burlington Triangle or Bennington Triangle, one of those in the New England area. College student was wearing a bright red coat, the color red. And then if you subscribe to the faith theory, red is one of the colors the fairies hate. So there you go. But with the children, there's a whole different aspect to it. With the adults, it looks like they're picking them specifically. Children, it almost seems like that any child left unattended or left alone, something simple, forgot something in the car to run back, went back to get a change of socks, or went to use the restroom, never come back. It seems like whatever this is, if it's the same entity, whatever, any child is fair game, but it picks and chooses who it wants for an adult. And that's my take on it.
Now, I had also heard, Steve, that there is a lot of handicapped people and mentally challenged people who go missing as well. I mean, what are the statistics on that?
I don't have the figures right off the top of my head, but again, a lot of those people, if they don't fit the one category, highly intelligent, athletic, then they fit the other end of that spectrum. They have special needs. They're autistic. They have mobility issues and things. Again, if you that's the confusing part of it. Are they taking us to study us, or is there something that perhaps those people possess that other people don't? I mean, you think about that. A lot of times, people say on the autism spectrum, they will have super high intelligence or the ability to concentrate and focus in a hyper manner that most of us don't possess. So, is there something in those special needs people that whatever this is wants? Again, it boggles the mind, and there's so many different directions to go with it.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. Is it more male or female who go missing?
Believe it or not, it's about equal. I think it tends to go a little more toward the men, but there seems to be just about as many missing men as there are missing women when you look at it in the aspect of the national parks. Now, overall, women go missing a lot more than men, but you have to take into account human trafficking, human predation, things like that. Especially like in the indigenous areas. I'm right in the edge of the Navajo Nation reservation here. There's hundreds of missing men, women, and children, but a lot of the women, particularly near the reservation, the same with the Highway of Tears there in your great country, they hitchhike. And that's usually if they go missing, that's the last time they were seen. Is it a serial killer? Is it trafficking? Who knows? But again, they're targeted.
How many of these missing people fit the clues for a serial killer compared to those who fit the clues of just vanishing into thin air? Now, I know with the Highway of Tears, which actually starts about 3/4 of a mile from where I am,
Wow.
right now, SOR headquarters. I know that the police believe there's at least 1 to 4 serial killers that have been working that area for the last 4 to 5 decades. And I also know that there is a lot of high strangeness along these roads, being along the old Gold Rush Trail, being the fact that First Nations people are very highly into Sasquatch, and many believe that many of these young ladies who have been taken as Sasquatch wives. Not
Mhm.
all of them, but I'm saying a low percentage of 10 to 20%. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with that, Steve.
Yeah, I've heard those stories, those theories, and again, that makes sense, just as much sense as any other. It's a little bit of everything. As far as the serial killers, I think the FBI estimates that somewhere around 50 to 60 that are active in the United States currently. And again, that's just, I think, a ballpark figure. You think about that, that's about one per state is what that averages out to. On my true crime channel, I just did a video about Israel Keys. And a lot of people have called him the most horrific serial killer that you probably never heard of. He traveled coast to coast. He stashed what he called his kill kits, a bucket with weapons and cash and maps and masks and zip ties, stuff that he thought he would need. So he didn't have to travel around with all that in his car, but he had it in these state and national parks, had it waiting. And then when the opportunity to take people presented, he was ready. He was evil beyond belief, but he was one of the most prepared and well organized serial killers. In fact, some of his victims, the couriers in Vermont, and this is a guy that lived in Alaska, and he had victims in Vermont that their bodies have never been found. And while I was putting that video together, I was looking at a list from the FBI of all the places he had traveled. And there's no telling how many we haven't found yet of his, just him alone.
Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. We will continue in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned. Man, this is a great show so
I,
far.
I,
So,
I'm loving it. And again, I feel for the families of the missing and the missing
oh yeah,
themselves. I want to be the voice of those that have no voice and advocate for them. And if I can bring one person home or give one family closure, then I'm doing what's been laid on my heart to do. But
amen, amen.
Tim Lizzie's asked me to talk about saucer cult. That's my UFO channel. We'll get to that in a minute. Let my dog out this time. I got to go let me out. I'll be right back.
We're going to turn things over to Dirty Fylth here so he can get dirty with his art here. It's all yours, Dirty.
Yeah. Dave leaves me on mute all the time. And then I usually have my microphone on mute. Yes. Hi, lovely Julie. Hi, everybody. I was saying I got about 1 billion art cards. So if you come to Vegas, find me, and I'll give you art cards. Probably doubles. I think I'm no longer muted unless my microphone's mangled. I don't know. Okay, apparently I'm not anymore. I usually just swear to myself when I'm working and ramble and everything. Yeah, it's not good for the show. But yeah, I get banned because I love you, love. I get banned because the one time I belched really loud. Ooh, I'll take dirt from Denver Airport. I got a dirt collection. I'd like to get some dirt from the Antarctic. That'd be nice. Thanks, war criminal. Keep on following orders, buddy. I am definitely not giving the silent treatment, no. There's a new guy at work, and then he came in, and it took me about like 10 minutes before I started rambling about aliens and ghosts and Sasquatch and everything. We were receiving a whole bunch of these GPS kits and everything. And I'm like, hey, did you hear that if you have these in a firearm, you usually won't go missing in the forest because apparently aliens don't like those and Sasquatch won't catch you and you probably won't go through a portal. And he's like, what? I'd love to go to the Antarctic. Apparently in Vostok, it's average summer temperatures like minus 38 Celsius. That'd be interesting. I bet you they got weird stuff down there. There's probably like an alien temple or something. I mean, you got like all these weird temples on every continent pretty much. And then they're just kind of like, you can't really go wander around down there. They should just let people wander around down there. If you get lost and freeze to death, that's your fault.
How you doing, Dirty?
Hi, Dave.
That looks like a portal.
I'm doing good. It is a portal.
Wow. You know what? I'm going to change here because I want to show off your great book that people could get at Amazon under Klaus Meidner. And It's called Cryptid Cartoons, a collection of drawings for those of us that wear tinfoil hats. This is volume 1. The cartoons are amazing. I literally it tells the story of Spaced Out Radio and Dirty Fylth's strange mind of what piques his interest, and it is a great book for anything, just for reading, for presents, for anything. Go on Amazon. Klaus Meidnar. Here, let me get the name in there. Cryptid Cartoons. You want this for your collection. It is absolutely amazing. And you can go on Klaus's website to get your calendar as well. So that works as well. So thank you for all you do, Fylth, for us. You're amazing.
You're welcome, Dave. It also has a very nice forward by Dave.
Yes. And by the way, Dirty Fylth will be providing, if you're a VIP coming to Vegas, Dirty Fylth will have a piece of art for you in the swag bags. Oh, there's Blob. We got a Blob sighting, everyone. We got a Blob.
I can't feel my legs.
Oh, I bet. All right. We have 15 seconds. Thank you to Louis, Simon, Bigfoot Rob ×2, Pam, and David for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Here comes hour 2, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Napea is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on hour number 2 of missing people who just vanished from the popular YouTube channel Among the Missing. Steve Stockton is here with us tonight. And Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and spend it with our audience.
Always a pleasure, Dave. Love coming on your show. I was just on here not too awful long ago, I think, a couple months ago, I believe.
Well, we like having you on every few months.
Yeah,
just because.
Just give you an update and what's been going on and stuff. But again, thanks for having me here.
Well, we love it when you're here. We do. And your stories of missing people are phenomenal. We talked a little bit about the national parks and the tunnels and portals and everything that seems to go around them. One of the ones that really interests me, Steve, is you get these stories where, you see a bunch of guys or a bunch of ladies, they go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night into town, they go clubbing, and all of a sudden one of them goes outside for a cigarette or it leaves the group to talk to someone, and they're never seen again. They're not seen on video camera. They're not seen anywhere. When you look at stories like this, what's the difference between a story where someone vanishes in the forest or a park and somebody who's vanishing right in the middle of a city?
Yeah, those are some fascinating cases. And really, the only difference truly is the location. I mean, it's easy to get lost in the woods, but I think it would be a lot harder to get lost in the city or go missing and leave no trace. I've got a video up on Among the Missing called some of the most famous cases, solved and unsolved. One of those is Brian Schaefer from Ohio, a college guy, went to a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloon with some friends. There's video of him going in, but he never came back out. No trace of him has ever been found. He's either in the building somewhere or was smuggled out in something, but I mean, they even check the walls and things like that for him. And again, that happens in a lot of cases, not a whole lot, not as many as go missing in the forest. But again, that's kind of to be expected. But to go missing in the city, in a bar or other places, and there's a theory about that, the smiley face killer or killers theories, that there's a loosely organized group of serial killers that work together in a concentrated effort that perpetrate these crimes. A lot of times, when those people that go missing from within the city are found, they'll be in a body of water, a college town, or with a river on or near the campus is a very likely spot. And when those people are found deceased, they may have been missing for weeks, but the coroner will say that they've only been in the water for a couple of days and they didn't drown. There wasn't enough water in the lungs for them to drown. So where were they between the time they went missing and the time they were in the water? What happened to them? How'd they get in the water? There was one case that I covered where the guy was in a pond, basically standing up. The water was up to his chest level, but he was deceased, standing up in a pond. That doesn't happen, but yet it did. And many cases like that. And again, a body of water will come into play usually, and maybe that's to help hide forensic evidence, to help hide the actual cause of death because of the bloatings and decomposition that will happen in the water and those bacteria. Another thing about those cases, when they bother to check for it, and I think they should check every case like that, there's a high incidence of the levels of GHB found in those people's system. That's the drug that some people put in people's drinks so that they don't remember what happened to them, or if they do remember it, they weren't able to fight back. But the other side of that, GHB can occur naturally if you've been up at a high altitude. So did something take those people up, and that would account for the GHB? Then it drops them back in the water to dispose of them? Again, the mind boggles. You can go so many different ways with that.
You totally can go so many different directions with it. I mean, what do you know about this smiley face killers group that, a lot of these bodies seem to be found around where a smiley face has been spray painted on a tree, on a rock, on a wall, or a sidewalk? I mean, this is a case where many people believe that there is this group called the Smiley Face Killers around the United States, but it's a group that really hasn't been identified.
Yeah, and they operate in plain sight like that, and yet remain hidden. And again, I think the smiley face, along with male genitalia, is the most popular thing you'll see spray painted anywhere you go. So is that? But isn't it weird that it happens where they find these bodies that usually in very close proximity, underneath a bridge or on a tree or somewhere where you wouldn't necessarily think somebody would spray paint? There's a smiley face. And in one instance, and again, this could have been just a horrible, horrible person trolling, but one of those victims, after he was buried, somebody spray painted a smiley face on his grave marker. So again, was that somebody just being very, very cruel, or was that the smiley face group leaving their signature on it? Who's to say? Frightening to think about, though.
It is very frightening to think about, because, serial killers are some of the most strangest cases out there. I look towards Vancouver, where a lot of these missing feet have washed up on shore. And the police have always kind of denied that there is a serial killer on the loose between Northern California, Oregon, Washington, but mainly out of Vancouver, where most of the feet have been found. Yet I know journalists who have worked in Vancouver, who've talked privately with police, who say the only reason why we haven't announced it is because we have no clues, and we don't want to panic the public in thinking that there is a serial killer in Vancouver who's dropping people off with cement blocks or whatever in the ocean. The crustaceans are feeding off the body, and because running shoes float, when the knee or the ankle disconnects from the body, the running shoes float up onto shore.
Yeah.
And this, there's been like 25 or 30 different feet found over the years.
And it's a lot. And again, it makes you wonder. I've heard all kinds of explanations for that, from things happening in Japan with typhoons or tsunamis, or to serial killers, or just people that drown through whatever means. And that's the part of them that washed up, again, because those shoes protect what's in there, that they can't be animal predation, crustaceans. Yeah, there are no easy answers, just that many more questions. But the serial killer, I think there's some truth to that, and there have been proven instances of it on the Appalachian Trail, the Blue Ridge, and the Shenandoahs, and the Grand Tetons. There's a lot of murders in those places, and again, if you wanted to hunt people in an isolated area, what better place to go than somewhere like the Appalachian Trail, which runs within close proximity to populated areas. And if they were put a dragnet out for a serial killer, they're checking cars. I don't know if any time they've ever checked people on the trail. You could hop off the trail. Say, for example, I've hiked from what's actually the terminus in Georgia all the way through the Smokies and up into not Abingdon, Virginia, Damascus, Virginia. It's just down the road from Abingdon. And right there in Damascus, you can hop off the AT. There's some steps that go down. There's a little town or village there, outdoor shop, a couple of restaurants, houses, people. You could go there, kill with impunity, hop back on the trail, take off, and nobody would know who you were or where you went. So for somebody that's their craft, if you want to call it that, homicide, like Israel Keys, and that's what he did. He would travel. He had these rules that he followed. He never killed in his home state. He never killed people with children. He never killed. He went to houses with dogs or any burglar alarms, things like that. Watch that video. I premiered it on 13 Past Midnight just as a sneak peek. But he was methodical and so planned out in this that he went for years undetected. And then what finally got him caught, he broke his own rules. He killed in his home state of Alaska. He took a girl from a coffee shop and then used her debit card. And that was kind of how they tracked him down. There was a Bolo, be on the lookout for him. He was observed in Texas, the matching plates, matching car. They pulled him over, had their guy, and then it all unraveled, and they found out that he had killed not only this girl, Samantha, I can't remember her last name, but all these other people, the couriers in Vermont, people in Washington State, Oregon. He traveled all over the country. And again, some of his known victims, had never been found. He confessed to 8 killings, but the FBI knows of at least 12 they think is his, and possibly in the triple digits that could be his victims. And that's just one guy. And you think about that, if they estimate that there's 50 to 60 in operation at any given time, just here in this country, how many Israel Keys are up there that we don't know about, that haven't been discovered, that are adhering to their rules? It's scary. It makes you want to lock your doors and stay home.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the problem with serial killers is eventually they get cocky. Okay. Mm-hmm. They get cocky and they start leaving. When they get cocky, it gets messy. I think of Willie Picton here in the Vancouver area, the pig farmer who murdered 63 women from the Vancouver's downtown east side, and probably more. And at some point, they thought that was tied to the Green River killers down in Washington State, and they're still looking into that. If there's any tie to Gary Ridgway as well. I mean, when you look at, the fact that, among, what is it, every 100,000 people, there's at least one serial killer, or every million people, there's one serial killer among them. I mean, that is a high statistic.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's the ones that are detected and are caught. How many are out there still operating, still killing, that have slipped under that radar like Israel Keys did for all those years? It's a frightening prospect. And I mean, those people, you can't outthink them because they're wired so differently. What they do is rational to them, but it won't make any sense to anybody else. And somebody like Keys, who, until he varied from his own rules, he probably would have never gotten caught. Use a different weapon every time. Don't kill in your home state. He used those, cache those kill kits, methodically. He would sometimes fly to another place, pick out his victims there, he, her, or them. Sometimes there's more than one, and then he would observe them, sometimes days, weeks, months. Is there a dog? Where are the entrances and the exits? He'd learn their habits, just like a burglar case in the house, which he did that too. He broke into homes, he robbed banks. He was just a not nice individual. But yet, and he even said this, he said, nobody understands me, nobody knows me, because I'm literally two people. There's the me that owns a construction business. There's the me that's a loving father. And there's the me that has this undeniable urge to kill people.
Oh man, that's a lot of evil, man.
Yeah,
That's a lot of evil.
that video is so dark. But it's all true.
No kidding. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing YouTube channel here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Steve, before we get to some audience questions, you also cover a lot of stories where high strangeness has happened during people who go missing, whether it's UFOs, whether it's Bigfoot, Dogman, little people. What's a story that sticks out to you regarding high strangeness?
The most recent one that I can think of is the case of Riker Webb, little 3-year-old boy. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, went missing in Montana. He wandered away from home in his had it on his little footy pajamas, and was gone for 2 days. And when they finally located him, he was several miles from home. He had gone like through the forest, and this was, I don't think it was snowing, but it was inclement weather. It was rain, mud, and he went through the woods and ended up in another cabin in a utility shed. He had either slept in or on a lawnmower bag, and people heard him talking back there. They were searching for him. And when there's a picture of when they brought him out of the woods, it doesn't even look like the same kid. I mean, his eyes are bugging out of his head. And somebody jokingly commented on my video that's whatever that is, take it and put it back and go find the real kid. That's a changeling. But I can remember when I was little, I was born in 1963, and I saw people that came back from Vietnam that had that look, that 1,000-yard stare, that shell shock, that PTSD. Oh, yeah. They had seen some stuff. This little kid has seen some stuff. I don't know if he'll remember it into adulthood, may have blocked it out because it was so traumatic. But if you look at him, they've got him on the stretcher. He's still in those little footy pajamas, and they're kind of dirty. There's holes in the toes, but that may have already been there. But there is no way that little kid walked through the mud and rocks and trees in the woods for miles in those little footy pajamas. Somebody or something either took him to where he ended up, or he was teleported there, or he stepped through a portal. I don't know, but you can tell that he's not the same kid that went into the woods when he came out.
You know what? I recall seeing that picture because, he just had that 1,000-yard stare, just like a soldier would, and when you looked at other photos of him from his childhood, and the boy is only about maybe 4 years old right now, maybe 5.
Yeah.
But when you look at other photos, he looked nothing like his regular photos. And the big thing is, during that time, that was also a time where a lot of wild animals in Montana are going to be looking for food, especially mountain lions.
Mm-hmm.
A 3-year-old child is an easy meal for a mountain lion or a hungry bear that's woken up from hibernation. Okay.
Yeah, that's a human burrito for a big cat or a bear. It's small, it's easy to catch, and yeah, that's a frightening prospect. But again, he was dehydrated and hungry. But other than that, and I said in my video, other than looking a little worse for the wear, which he did he. But other than that, he suffered no ill effects.
No, and there was no sexual abuse from a person. No signs of sexual abuse or bruising or physical abuse on the boy. I mean, this also reminds me of the story where a year previous, a young 2-year-old went missing in North Carolina that was huddled up to a big teddy bear
Mm-hmm.
and found in a briar patch after that Briar Patch area had been searched 3 or 4 times
Yep.
by search and rescue.
And I love the explanation. Oh, it was a bear. Nothing to see here. Go home. Well, you and I both know, and everybody in the chat here, a bear is not going to cuddle a human child. He said it picked berries and brought them to him for him to eat. And I think in some stories he even referred to it as a big doggy. But again, being that small, he has no frame of reference for a Sasquatch or anything like that. I think that's what it had to be. Bears or big doggies don't cuddle kids and pick berries for them.
Do we have any updates on how either of these two children are going, or has the trail gone cold?
I haven't heard anything. I redid that Riker Web video for my new channel, and wasn't able to find any update on him. And again, that's not uncommon for people that go through these things. They either don't remember it or they don't want to talk about it. Whatever they saw and experienced was so damaging to their psyche. And again, you look at that little boy, he's fundamentally a different kid than he was when he went in the woods. Not just his outward appearance, but looking at his eyes, you can tell he's changed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I could see that. We got about 3 minutes before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing YouTube channel is here tonight. You're going to want to hit subscribe on that channel. I mean, we all feel for children when something strange happens to children like this. Are there any patterns that you notice between the boy Riker up in Montana and the young lad from North Carolina?
No, other than it's one of those things where usually there's an animal involved. I think when they asked Riker what happened, he just said he and his doggy went for a walk, and when they were tracking him, they did find rocks that were overturned, like he had been looking under rocks, and it was later revealed that he was fascinated with bugs, so maybe he was looking for bugs. But again, given the weather and the terrain, I don't think there's any way that little kid walk there under his own power, let alone if you look at those footy pajamas, they're not even that dirty. And again, there was rains and the woods and things. Go walk through the woods in your sock feet and look at your feet afterwards and see if they're not dirty. That's the only way I know to tell you to prove that theory.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy indeed when it comes to that. Let's get started on some audience questions here. We only got about 2 minutes, but I'm curious on a few of these. Let's start off with Vash the Impaler. Steve, is there a specific ethnicity that seems to get abducted the most?
There are, based on the facts and figures that I've seen, people with Germanic heritage tend to go missing more than any other race. Now, I don't technically know if that's an ethnicity, but people with German heritage, that Teutonic blood, if you will, they tend to go missing more than people otherwise. I've seen figures on the blood types and things. People with a negative blood type seem to go missing. I'm B negative myself, second rarest type. They're not even sure where our blood type comes from. The negatives, it's if you go to Gaia.com and places like that, they conjecture that it's off planet, that we're not even from here. And I wonder about that myself sometimes. I'm just visiting here. This has never been my home. I've never fit in. But I don't know. It's one of those things. Again, it seems to pick a certain type of person. Again, there with that genealogical background, with the intelligence level, tend to be very, very educated people, masters, PhD, doctor level people, and athletic, highly trained trail runners, people that do marathons up the sides of mountains and stuff like that. But then you have also, the other side of that, the autism spectrum. Those people tend to go missing. Hunters tend to go missing. It's almost like the hunters become the hunted. And there's a good cross section there, but it tends to be on one end or the other as far as intelligence and things like that. But yeah, other than the German background, that's the only thing that I know as far as ethnicity.
Steve, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to continue with some audience questions when we return on Spaced Out Radio, as we learn more about people who just vanish into thin air out of nowhere. and never return. It is absolutely stunning that this is happening in today's society with all sorts of technology. And then poof, someone is gone. Steve Stockton. Among the missing is his YouTube channel, which you definitely want to subscribe to. We're going to continue with Spaced Out Radio with the second half as we have Steve until the top of the hour right here on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Awesome times, man.
Okay, great show. I'll be right back, and we'll
Yep.
finish it up here.
Perfect. There is the pick cartoon for tonight by Dirty Fylth and UFO Cryptid Truth. We got some aliens on one side, Bigfoot on the other, and a portal in the middle. Doesn't get scarier than that, people. Doesn't get scarier than that. That's why we love Dirty Fylth around here. Hi, Fylth.
Who wouldn't want to go through that portal, Dave?
I want to go through that portal, Fylth. Why don't I want to go through that portal, Fylth? You drew it.
They got a Taco Bell on every street corner there, Dave.
That's nice. That's very nice. Dave loves his Taco Bell.
There used to be a Taco Bell by my mom's house, and it closed down. It was a KFC Taco Bell. Now it's just back to a taco. Sorry,
Where's
Dave.
Blob?
I kicked her off my lap because my legs are all numb now. For a small cat, she weighs a lot.
So what size of art are our guests in Vegas going to get? Are they going to get one that's about a 5x7, correct?
Yeah, it's
Are they getting that
yeah.
size? Or are they getting something a little smaller, a little bigger?
I'm not sure yet. How many people are guaranteed going?
Well, right now, I think our last count, we're around, outside of our special guests, we're around, I believe, between 45 and 55. But the number's going up now.
Perfect. I've got a plan. Don't worry, Dave. I got you covered.
Beauty. Because we want to make sure that our swag bags have some Dirty Fylth in there.
Oh, they'll be good. I got a pile of art cards too. Everybody gets some of those. No matter who you are. Even if you're a random person on the elevator, like I did last year. Some random guy just gave him a card. Then he started talking about that he was an ex-Navy guy and he's seen some weird stuff when he was out in the ocean. And his friend's like, dude, we got to go. I'm like, come hang out with us. But he left. Hello, Blob.
Oh, is Blob back?
Yeah, she's just circling around on the bottom of the table here.
Oh, let's give everybody a Blob sighting. We love it when Blob shows up.
Here, Blob. Ow. There you go, Blob. Go up there. You're famous.
There's Blob. Hi, Blobbert.
Oh,
Good
yeah,
old
that Blob.
Help
I
it
think
on
she's
out.
like-
Cartoons.
I think she's probably about 17 human years old.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Blob. Oh, yeah, she's old. Did we ever tell you that she was found half frozen to death in a hay bale?
No.
Yeah, that's why she's got any pictures you see of her. That's why she has really short ears. They're all like cropped off, and she's got this little tiny short blob tail.
Oh, either way, we love Blob. Look, she's checking out the picture just to make sure that everything's a-okay.
Yeah, come up there on the desk and cause a ruckus.
Good old Blobbert.
Yeah, eat those brushes there, Blob. That's why if you ever see me picking at the end of my brushes during the show, there's that Blob. It's because there's cat fluff on them all the time. Yeah. I've got my camera wired to the thing now because the one time she knocked it over and it was kind of comical.
You need a Blob footprint stamp.
That's what I should do.
So you can have Blob approved art.
That's a good idea, Dave.
Like right now, her showing her butt to this piece. I don't know if she likes this piece or not.
Just like, hey, everybody, check out my butt. Little blob butt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, stepping on another keyboard. Unbelievable.
Absolutely. I want to say a big thank you to David ×2, Bigfoot Rob ×2, Pam H, Simon, and Louie for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for your love and support. And our Spaced Out Radio store is open at spacedoutradio.com. We got great swag there for you, along with, if you are coming to Vegas, let us know at spacedoutradio@gmail.com. It's on the ticker right there, May 19th through 21st at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas. We got a great list of special guests that are going to be there for you. And next year, Steve Stockton is coming. He couldn't make it this year, but next year he says he's promised me he's going to come too. Here comes the next half hour, everybody. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on final half hour with Steve Stockton from his YouTube channel, Among the Missing, where he goes into detail of strange cases of people who just vanish. You're definitely going to want to hit the subscribe button on that channel. And Steve, thank you so much for being here tonight. Really,
again, my pleasure, Dave. I always love coming on here. And so she doesn't skin me alive. Thin Lizzie Borden, Bree, and I have a channel together called Saucer Cult. And what that is, it looks at the UFO phenomenon, but prior to the abduction era. We like to go from around the Kenneth Arnold, when everything first started happening, up to when the abduction started, back when it was fun, when it was flying saucers, when it was little men from outer space and things. We got some old public domain movies over there, some really terrible, badly dubbed Japanese films that are just hilarious, but we've got more stuff coming up over there. So if you like that era of the saucer stuff, not that there's anything wrong with the abduction era, but everybody does that. I don't see anybody looking at the older stuff anymore. And that's when it was fun for me, is when I was a kid, prior to all that. But join me over there too. I've got so many things going on here. It's a good time for me to be alive. And thanks, everybody. I love and appreciate every one of you.
Oh, we love you here too.
Saucer Cult, CULT.
Well, we love you too around here, my man. And you know what? You help make a good time and a great piece of entertainment for us here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's continue on with some audience questions here, because they are built up. Brown Dwarf is asking, Steve, have you got any updates on the Julian Sands case and any information on what may have happened on the Dale Stelling case out of Mesa Verde National Park?
No updates on Julian Sands. I put a bit about him in the video that I've got up over there, the famous cases. And again, nothing. It's of course a recovery effort at this point, but no sign of anything. And then I'm not familiar with what's going on in that other case, but I will look into that and get back to you. And if there's enough info there, make a video about it. I like to wait sometimes on those breaking cases and just make sure that they're not going to be found, or before I put a video out, because I'd much rather them be found, but I don't want to put out any false information or put out a video of somebody missing that's already been found. But
Gotcha.
Obviously, I prefer that they be found. But we try to err on the side of caution and only present the facts. We don't editorialize. We don't offer any opinion unless it's positively stated as such. And quotes, news reports, police reports, things like that. Because there are some lesser channels that just kind of make shit up and sorry, I'm said a bad word there. Make stuff up. Bleep me there, Dave. That just make stuff up and manufactured out of whole cloth, make up things about unless you were an eyewitness that you couldn't have known. And so again, just Joe Friday used to say on Dragnet, just the facts, man. And then that's all we want to put out there. But we have to know what they are before we can report them. It takes research and effort.
I agree, my friend.
Sorry about that, Dave.
That's all right. We'll take it auto. All right, let's go to Delilah here. That skier that disappeared on the East Coast and then appeared on the West Coast, did anyone ever interview him? Did he ever say anything about his?
I've never seen an interview with him other than initially. And yeah, he was skiing in, I think, on the Canada side of Niagara Falls there.
He was a firefighter from Toronto, who, or just outside of Toronto, who went skiing, I believe, at near Lake Placid, New York, with a bunch of his coworkers.
Okay, I've forgotten the details, but yeah, when he came to, if that's what you want to call it, he was on the West Coast, I think, at the airport, and he remembered riding with somebody in a big truck. He had a haircut and a new phone, and I mean, I don't discount anybody's story because all kinds of weird things can happen, but that almost sounds like to me somebody that had planned to disappear and start a new life and then had a change of heart, or maybe not. Again, that's just conjecture. I don't know. And as far as I know, he doesn't know based on what he said. So it could be anything, but it was unusual circumstances. And you do have that. You have people that disappear and there's a big effort put forth to find them and they never find them. And then they turn up in another state or another country with maybe a new family, a new job, a new identity. There are people that want to disappear. Not all those who wander are lost, as those bumper stickers say. And back during that thing that went on, the pandemic, there was a woman that they thought was missing, and they found her living in a tent in one of the national parks. I don't remember the full circumstances or which park it was, but she had just chosen to opt out of society, and they pretty much just left her alone. I think she relied on the kindness of other campers and stuff when her supplies ran out. But with all that was going on with there was stuff with the elections, there was the pandemic, with everything that was going on, she just didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And that was probably the safest and sanest way to take yourself out of a situation like that, other than doing something absolutely drastic and irreversible. And I kind of admire her for it. I've been there myself. Who hasn't? I wish I could disappear. I wish I could just walk away and start over. And that was one of the things I loved when I lived in Las Vegas for 10 years or so. That was a place that people go to reinvent themselves and start over and leave their past behind. It's just, Vegas is one of those places. I wish I could be there with you guys this year, but hopefully next year. I've got too much going on with everything else I've got going here. But next year for sure. I've been invited to a lot of places. Dogman conference in Texas this year. I don't think I'll make it to that either. We'll have some dates coming up later in the fall, but right now I'm concentrating on getting all these channels going and getting everything in motion. It's doing great. I'm just about to pass 58,000 on Among the Missing. The video that I put out 2 days ago, it's had almost 50,000 views. You guys are lovely. You're wonderful. You're incredible. I couldn't do it without you. And that's I'm enjoying my autonomy over there. I answer to God, to the families of the missing themselves, and my audience, and that's it. I like it that way. I'm having the time of my life.
Excellent. Let's go to slow motion here. Steve, how many channels do you have now, and when the takeover will be complete?
Well, Among the Missing is leading the pack right now. Like I said, it's rolling up on 58,000, and a lot of people have subscribed during this show. Just went up a couple more, 57,939. So I've got Among the Missing, 13 Past Midnight, which is my oldest channel. I've had that for several years. Kind of redoing that, revamping that. I was doing a lot of the overnight audiobook stuff, LibriVox and BBC radio stuff that's in the public domain. That's been split off into its own channel called Insomniac Radio Theater. I've got several hundred subscribers over there. All that content's going to go over there. 13 is going to stay with the original content and the interviews. And then I've got the True Crime Breakdown channel. Lizzie and I have Saucer Cult, and there may be a couple more in the works. Stay tuned. I love what I do. Obviously, I connect with people on some level. I've got a lot of fans, made a lot of friends this way, met my future wife through this medium. So there you go. It's all good. I'm unemployable. I could work at a gas station or a call center or something like that, but that's about it. I'm born to talk into this microphone, and I love it.
And you have one of those golden voices too, my friend.
Well, thank you. I
I'm
appreciate
an old
that.
radio guy. I could say I love your voice.
Thank you.
Let's go to Candy here. What percentage of the missing actually are found or reappear?
I don't have the actual numbers and figures in front of me, but it's relatively high. A lot of people that go missing, they do turn up. Sometimes it turns out to be like if it's a kid, it's a runaway situation or just wandered off. And with all the technology and things that we have now, the Amber Alerts, the Silver Alerts, the different missing endangered alerts, that helps to get the word out. Even the National Weather Service has gotten in on that. They send out those EAS alerts. And the advent of the internet, other technologies with the GPS and the tracking, and you've got a tracking device with you all the time. Usually, most of you do anyway. They can ping your phone and see where you were. So it's a lot easier to find people that are truly missing, as opposed to people that have been abducted or people that want to go missing. But it's I'd say probably around 75% or more. And don't quote me on that because I don't have those figures in front of me. But it's higher than you think it would be. It's a good number. I mean, anytime somebody's found, that's a good thing. Found alive, especially.
All right, let's continue on with DOD here. Picnic baskets get left behind in a pristine fashion, but picnickers go missing?
That has happened. There are cases where they had their blanket or whatever spread out, the food's there, and they're gone. What happens in a case like that? Now, a lot of times animals will get into that food, but there have even been cases where food was left behind that the animals wouldn't touch. Now, that makes you wonder what happened there, what energy or aura is around that food that a bear or a raccoon or a squirrel won't touch food that's been left behind where people disappeared. Now, that's kind of a woo factor there. There's something otherworldly, something supernatural about that. Reminds me, just for whatever reason, North Carolina, there's a place called the Devil's Tramping Ground. It's a big circle out in the woods where nothing will grow. Scientists from North Carolina State or one of those universities in North Carolina have tested that soil. It is sterile. Nothing will ever grow in that. They can't explain it. And again, maybe the energy that creates something like that affects the food that's in those baskets that the animals don't even want to touch it. And, if a hungry bear won't come around a campsite, something weird has gone down there.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that weirdness is?
Again, that's the $1 million question there. Is it some kind of energy or some sort of residual effect? Possibly. I don't know. Now, again, I don't know. That's something that I've never considered, and I'll have my researchers look into. Have they ever checked any of these places where people have gone missing, the radiation levels to see if they're normal? That might be some interesting results there, especially in encounters where there was UFO or Bigfoot activity. Fascinating.
All right.
Just gave me a new rabbit hole to go down. Thanks, sir.
Why not? Why not? There's always a rabbit hole, my friend. Speaking of which, what is your favorite rabbit hole with these stories?
Probably right now the Fae, and just that to go down and follow that theory, because again, so many other things fit under that umbrella: UFOs, elementals, Bigfoot, all these woodland creatures, gnomes and fairies and things like that. And again, there are places where that's almost a religion. In some of the Nordic and Scandinavian countries, they will build a highway around a boulder outcropping because they don't want to upset the little people that they think live in those boulders or around those boulders. So there's something to that, I believe. And in cases where they have just gone ahead and blown up those places and put the highway through there, then that highway will see an inordinate amount of deaths and accidents and things like that. So again, there's things out there that we don't understand and we probably ought not mess with if we know what's good for us. Because sometimes you have to learn a lesson the hard way.
Definitely, definitely, I could see that. Any Bigfoot stories or Dogman stories that you've seen with missing people?
Uh, to some degree, like again, Shasta, places like that where people go missing. There's a high incidence of UFO encounters and Bigfoot encounters in the same place. And Bigfoot and UFO tend to go hand in hand. And some of these other cryptids or entities, the Glimmer Man, the Shimmering, the Predator creature, whatever you want to call that, Bruce Maccabee's wife. I'm sure you've heard that story. She was deer hunting, bow hunting, and was in a tree stand and saw something in another tree, like the outline of this creature that she could see through it like it was saran wrap. And at the very same moment when she's photographing this with her little flip phone, on the other side of the woods from where she was, there was a high school marching band practicing on the football field, and they had some sort of daylight UFO encounter over there at the exact same time. Is that connected? Again, I think it's all connected.
It just seems to me, I'm a big believer too that, there is no singular phenomena out there. There is no just dogman or there is no ghosts or paranormal or UFOs. I believe they are all tied together. And I'm sure the evidence has shown with a lot of what you looked at that, there are people out there who go missing with some sort of paranormal or supernatural experience leading the way.
Absolutely. And talking about animals and things here, a lot of times a dog, a canine, will be involved in a disappearance, and either the dog comes back and the human doesn't, or they both never come back. So that makes you wonder, you know, how do dogs, does that play into it? Riker Webb, he went for a walk with his dog. Some of these other missing kids cases, there was a canine involved at some point. Even like the Mothman story. The witnesses remembered seeing a deceased dog on the side of the road. Well, one of the other witnesses, his dog had ran out in the night chasing something. Was that the same dog? Uh, Animals play into this, and they're connected too. And I think every living creature, there's some sort of fine line that connects us. And somebody within the chat there was talking about that they found half a rabbit that none of the other animals would eat. What's up with that? Again, these are scavengers. These are predator creatures that will eat just about anything. But if there's something, fresh meat, something that would be a meal for them, what could have possibly happened to it that they won't eat it? That makes me think of the cattle mutilations and things like that in the 70s, the very first animal mutilation, Skippy the horse, where the horse was totally denuded of flesh from its neck up and had surgical precision organ removal and stuff. And I think they found radiation in that case and possibly prints where something had landed. And you look at Skinwalker Ranch, the things that are going on there, the taking of the cattle in the snow. They could see where the cattle had went right up to the wood line and the tracks just stopped. But up above, the tree limbs were broken 12, 15 feet up. Something took that cow straight up. I believe that. That's another strange rabbit hole, the Skinwalker Ranch and all the things they've seen there, portals, dogmen, UFOs, other strange creatures, entities, what appear to be human scientists that appeared out of nowhere. The lady, I can't remember, Sherman, I think was their name. She was washing dishes one morning, looking out her window, saw what she described as a portal, a circle open up in the air. A bipedal creature, I guess a dog man, skinwalker, something, stepped out of it and just goes stomping off. It closes back up. Another time she's looking out the same window, sees the same portal thing like open up, but she sees a guy at a desk doing something in this floating portal. He notices her, makes a face, does something, the portal closes and goes away. What is going on there? Is that our government? Is it some kind of alien thing? Who knows? But again, fascinating to think about and to investigate as much as you can.
Let's get to a couple more questions here. As we got about 5 minutes to go, Steve, before we have to say goodnight to you. Slow Motion is asking, have any of the returned tried hypnotic regression to remember what happened?
Not to my knowledge. I've never read an interview with anybody that did that, and I've often wondered in those cases what would they remember under hypnotic regression. I myself have a period of a few hours of missing time from back in the early '80s, late '70s, early '80s, and I've had people ask me, and I honestly I don't want to know. I think if it was that traumatic that I have no memory of it or whatever happened, and it was a shared experience. A friend that I went to high school with and I were riding BMX bikes in a undeveloped subdivision. We heard a noise off in the woods, and then the next thing we know, we're still on our bikes, we're still moving, but we're going the opposite direction. And about 3, maybe 4 hours had passed, and no knowledge of where we were or what happened to us. And he experienced the same thing I did. We didn't even speak to each other. We went down the road. He went to his driveway. I went to mine. My parents are like, "Where you been? It's a school night." And I didn't, again, 3 or 4 hours had passed and no knowledge. And then when we talked later, he had experienced the same thing I did. We heard a noise. And then the next thing we know, we're on our bikes, still moving, but the other direction and missing time. Again, part of me wants to know, but a part of me was frightened that I wouldn't want to know if I did find out that if it's hidden or covered over by me or by something else, there's probably a good reason for it.
Final question for you tonight. Let's go to Dave Walters. Are remote viewers used with any success in finding missing persons?
Yeah, they have. There has been success with remote viewers. Same with psychics. Again, it can be hit or miss, but there are some historical cases where I think it was Gene Dixon or somebody like that predicted almost to the T where this person would be found near this body of water in this part, and there's a rock and a tree, and they were found like that. And I've heard stories of psychics that were so accurate that they were investigated by the police because what they were telling, what they saw, the police thought, well, unless you were involved, you had no way of knowing that. That information wasn't released. How do you know this? So I can understand why maybe if you did see or know something that you would be hesitant to report it, except anonymously, because how would you explain that if you could? I mean, I've had dreams about Kyron Harmon, little boy that's missing in on Sauvie Island or that area in Oregon. I had a dream that he's in a water culvert in a black plastic bag weighted down with rocks. But I didn't want to go looking for him. I did send an anonymous tip. But again, how would I explain that to police? Because I lived just down the road from Sauvie Island. And if I led them right to the place where his body was, I'm suddenly implicated myself, regardless of how much I protest. Frightening prospect. But I did send it in anonymously. Never heard anything that came from it.
Do you find that a lot of these stories that you and your team investigate, where you're digging up news stories and trying to put it all together, do you ever find, or have you ever had authorities call you up to say, hey, what are you doing with this? Why are you investigating this case?
No, I never have, but that's because we kind of fly under the radar. And I have had some documents that weren't supposed to be released that came through some possibly improper channels. Maybe the person I got it from was allowed to have it, but I wasn't. And again, have to tread very carefully like that, because if it is an ongoing investigation, you don't want to compromise that, because if it is that type of case, I want justice to be served, and I don't want to put a stumbling block out there for the authorities. But like I said, there's been some stuff that was tempting, but I didn't release it because I didn't have the authority to. And also out of respect for the family and the missing themselves. That's a very personal and private thing in the case of a homicide or something like that. And I'm not callous enough that I would want to break a story just to be breaking a story.
Oh, I hear you. Tell everybody with the last 35 seconds where they can find your channels.
Among the missing, the easiest way to get that, atmyt.com will redirect you there. Same with True Crime Breakdown, tcbyt.com. IRT, that's Insomniac Radio Theater. I think you just have to search for that one. I may have that one forwarded. If I do, it's irtyt.com. Love those 5-letter domains. I'm surprised I can still get those. 13 past midnight, you can just type that into the search. And also, don't forget, I've got books on My Strange World, Missing, That's Part Mysteries and Disappearances, Strange Things in the Woods, on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. Check me out, subscribe to my channels. I'll do everything I can to make you happy.
Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. We'll be back with Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this break. Great show, buddy.
Hey, clear. Good show. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, chat. Hello to all my people that are here. Again, if it's your first time here, Dave has some of the best shows on the internet. If you like this sort of thing, he is the Art Bell of Canada, in my opinion.
Thank you. You're way too kind, buddy.
It's true. Always people saying hi to me here. Hi back to everybody. And you're welcome. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. Come check me out.
Well, the good part is in a few weeks, we'll have a surprise for both your audience and my audience.
Stay tuned. It's big. It's big. I'm telling you, it's big. You're going to love it.
We're working on something together here that'll help benefit everybody. So thank you so much for the love from your audience and all your friends coming on in, Steve. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, Dave. Anytime. You know how to get a hold of me.
I do, buddy. You take
care.
Care.
We're good friends apart from all this. When I got to San Francisco and checked into the hotel, Dave Scott came running across the lobby and gave me a bear hug. It was great.
Absolutely, my man. That's what friends do. Indeed. All right, Stevie, you take care.
Good night, everybody. See you a little further on down the trail. Tell your animals. Steve says hi.
All right. Take care, buddy. Steve Stockton, everybody. I will be right back. Stay tuned. All right. Good to have you all with us as we are about to say hello to everybody out there. We having fun? Patricia Giselli, how are you? That was a great show. Great show. JGR, how are you? That the question about the voices, where your friend heard your voice, that was up here where I am. Oh, I got the hiccups. Oh my goodness. Hope that stops. Hi, Nancy Thames. Yeah, he didn't go. He got the hell out of Dodge when that happened, man. Thank you to David ×2, Bigfoot Rob ×2, Pam H, Simon and Louie for the great super chats. Very much appreciate the love. And you only have 2 days left for VIP tickets for our Vegas party. Check the ticker below. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Napea. Napea is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Outdoor Adventures Can Be Deadly by Aiden Chaos. I had always been a pretty avid adventurer, honestly, and spent most of my trips solo. So I jumped when my friend invited me on a group backpacking trip through the Canadian wilderness. We were both experienced hikers and had all the gear we needed to survive a few days in the great outdoors. But as soon as we set foot on the trail, I knew something was off. The air just felt heavy, and the trees seemed to loom over us like sentinels, watching over our every move. We hiked for hours, making our way deeper and deeper into the wilderness. After some time, the sun began to set, and we decided to set up camp for the night where we were. We built a fire and cooked some food we brought along, chatting and laughing as we watched the stars emerge. It truly was a serene and beautiful sight. But unfortunately, as the night wore on, things started to get more strange. We heard noises off in the distance. At first, I really tried to play it off as animals. It did sound like something was just moving through the underbrush, and that could literally be anything. We tried to think it off as a bear or some other wild animal, like I said, but as we listened closer, the sounds were more than just strange. They were otherworldly. Then we saw it. At first, it was just a flicker of movement on the edge of our vision, but then it stepped into the light of our fire, and we fully saw what this thing was. I don't even know how to explain it other than that it was humanoid, but its skin was sickly green. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. It had long, spindly fingers, and its limbs were twisted and distorted like it didn't quite belong in our world. We all froze, me and my friend, staring at each other and then looking back at this creature, too scared to move or even breathe. The creature just stood there, watching us with these glowing eyes. They were ethereal, its head cocked to the side as if studying us, and then it was gone, vanishing into the darkness as it had never been there. It's something that I don't know how we explain. It just faded from existence, slowly but surely, as if you were watching a movie or some sort of really bad cheesy effect on some sort of sci-fi scene or something. I really don't know how to put it into words. It was just there, and then it simply dissolved. We spent the rest of the night huddled together, too afraid to sleep or even speak. We knew we had encountered something unworldly that didn't belong here. The following day, we packed our gear, hiked back to civilization as quickly as possible, and we never really spoke of that night again. But I'll never forget the terror I felt when I realized we were not alone in the wilderness, and to this day, I don't know how to explain how something can simply fade out of existence. I know we were tired, but we didn't do drugs and we didn't drink. If anybody has any idea what we encountered, please let me know in the comments.
And that's why we love Swamp Dweller around here, kicking off the third hour each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. If you want more, head on over to Swamp Dweller's YouTube channel. He's got thousands of stories just like that for free. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. From the swamp to the forests of Montana, where Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here for the Cryptid Report. Super Duke, the Cryptid Report with Super Duke. Yes, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. We love it when you guys are here. How you doing, my man?
Doing pretty good. Really busy trying to get everything set to go for the big conference and expedition in Nebraska next week. So that means I have to have 3 shows done because one of them's going to be my presentation and one for Sunday and one for the following Sunday. So woohoo, buried in work. Plus trying to pack. Yeah, great.
Well, the main thing is you look good, my friend. You look good.
It's better to look fantastic than to feel fantastic, Dave. You know how it is.
Absolutely. You know how it goes. You got the short encrypted report tonight. What do you got for us tonight?
Now we got a couple of interesting addendas here that covering all the native reports from one end of the alphabet to the other, or at least from C to Z. Here we go. And I thought this was interesting because people nowadays talk a lot about the Wendigo and how it could be the rake and it could be a skinwalker and could be this, could be that, could be the other thing. What did the natives say it was? Hudson Bay Cree Indians. On the subject of Hudson Bay, northeastern Canada, this author, which again, the same one I've been quoting for a while here, I discovered the term Wetigo is a verbal characterization for cannibal giant. Spelling variations often occur. I found many listed. Wendigo, Witico, Wetico. Wendigo in particular was a name formerly used by various Eastern and Great Lakes Native American people, including the Hudson Bay Cree, mostly the Algonquin Confederation, each of them having their own characterization of this word. Wendigo, Witigo, Witico, Wentigo, Wetico, Wendigo, Wetigo, Weticow, Wetigo, Witico, Wendigoag, and Ithaqua are a few, that's not all, of the varied name applications denoting this native spirit totem. Both pallid skin and hair-covered creatures that lived in ancient times, just as they do now in the high mountain forest. Far back as the year 1860, the German explorer Cole translated Wendigo as cannibal and of Algonquin origins. And so there's another take on the whole Wendigo thing. And then if we zoom to the other side of the country, as I'm zooming, slowly scrolling.
That's good scrolling, by the way.
Yeah. They actually have a short thing on Norway House, Manitoba Cree Nation here, too. But it's not not important to what we want to talk about here. Well, if I grab the cursor, this thing's just going to fly, so well, hopefully I can find it. Sorry about this.
Well, that's all right.
Well, one thing that I can get to right away, and let's just go there. There's some more sighting reports from Captain Ken over at the group investigating mystery primates. And Captain Kenny sends in several here. May 2011, a retired nurse was camping and fishing alone on Sheep Creek, north of Jumping Creek Campground in Meager County, Montana. While fishing, he noticed a foul odor that he assumed was a decaying animal. He then saw a Sasquatch, which he described as a female with sagging breasts, brown with reddish highlight hair throughout, about 7 feet tall. Her hair was matted, coarse, tangled, and about 6 to 7 inches long. The creature was washing something in the creek, possibly berries, and looked at him for about 10 seconds before it stood up and screamed. The Sasquatch then gave a deep sound, turned, and, quote, glided, unquote, away. The witness was very frightened and left the area quickly. The witness stated that he had smelled something similar to winter kill before seeing the creature, which he believes was a female. The area is said to be pristine Sasquatch habitat, and the witness claims that his parents and uncle had similar encounters in the same campground in the past. Now, the other report that he's got here, 1958. A 15 or 16-year-old individual was checking their trap line near Adario, Ohio, accompanied by their dog Smokey. On a cold, moonlit November morning, Smokey started acting strangely, growling quietly and sticking close to the owner. Near the end of the trap line, the individual and Smokey encountered a 7-foot-tall creature covered in long hair, with a face that was neither human nor animal. The creature did not display hostility and quickly walked away when spotted. The witness observed it effortlessly crossing a 6-foot-high gate and disappearing into a field. The individual did not report the sighting at the time due to the fear of losing their trapping privileges. They never encountered the creature again and only learned about other Bigfoot sightings in Ohio many years later. And that's part of the problem, living in one of these parts of the country where they're not supposed to be around. You have no idea what the heck you're looking at. It causes extra big problems. Down in the Gulf Coast in November 2003 in Sabine Parish, Louisiana, a witness reported seeing a creature standing about 20 to 25 feet away from them, next to a small building with woods behind it. The witness estimated the creature to be around 8 to 9 feet tall, covered in dark hair, with a shoulder span of 4 to 5 feet and a weight of at least 500 pounds. The witness also reported a strong, pungent odor that smelled like a wet deer, but much stronger. The witness felt the creature became upset when they did not run away and took a defensive posture. The witness went inside to get a handgun, and when they returned, the creature was gone, but could still be heard in the woods. The witness found a single print that was about 18 to 20 inches long the next day. Witness had an ongoing encounter with strange sounds and odors and reported that other people in the area have had similar encounters. The witness reported they would be interested in speaking to someone from a group about their experiences. A follow-up investigation reportedly noted additional details provided by the witness, including their estimation of the height of the shadow of the figure based on the height of the shed, and the witness's observation of several tree bows that block some of the old logging roads, which of course would be totally in keeping with the way they like to do things. Most of the time they'll just push a tree down across it, so unless you got a chainsaw or you're walking, you're not getting in there. 2004, during the summer in September in Giles County, Tennessee, a man named Mel was outside hooking a car trailer to his truck at 2:30 a.m. Well, there's a lousy time to do that. He heard a noise and shined his flashlight into the woods to look around. As he scanned the area, something reflected the light, and when he shone it back, he saw a creature that looked like a man covered in long, shiny black hair, with eyes about the size of a horse's eyes. The creature was squatting with its arms around its knees, just staring at Mel. When the light hit the creature's eyes, it turned its head away. Mel's brother Len was called, and he came outside to see the creature, which then ran through the woods yelling. The report was classified as a Class A report because of the direct contact with the eyewitness. Further investigation revealed that the creature was squatting like a human, and its posture was particularly human-like. The animal squatted like a human with the elbows on the knees and with the arms hanging loosely in front of the knees. The creature was no more than 10 feet from Mel, and he was close enough to see lighter-colored skin where the hair was thinner near the top of the underside of the arm. Mel's mother, who was there when he saw the animal, also heard the animal retreating and described the sound as a heavy wind going through the trees. And I think we got one more here. 58. Not sure if I told you guys this one or not. It's short. 2007, a witness and her son observed a dark-colored figure, initially thinking it was a person crossing the road. As they got closer, they realized it was a very tall figure, covered in dark reddish-brown hair, which quickly moved across the road, jumped over a ditch and fence, and took off into the woods. The witness estimated the creature to be at least 7 feet tall and 300 pounds or more, with a fairly slender lower body and broad shoulders. The witness's father and brother also saw a similar figure in the same area at the same time of day on different occasions. The witness is a crime scene investigator and found the encounter so shocking that it actually brought her to tears. And you know, that's an interesting thing. It gets reported a lot because some of the people that have encounters with these beings, you know, they've been in firefights in a war or something like that. And you would think that nothing would really scare them or impress them that much. And then they run into one of these things and they'll all tell you it's, you know, it's way worse, way scarier than just being in a simple firefight or something like that is. One thing I'd like to make an announcement for anybody that's into Australian cryptozoology. It's just come to my attention that Rex Gilroy, the grandfather of cryptozoology in Australia, has recently passed away. And he's got a ton of books out. He's had lots of interviews and little spots on Australian TV and all kinds of stuff like that. And I think he was at it for, God, like 50 years or something. So really sad that he's gone. He was one of the really good ones. And he was one of those guys like Ivan T. Sanderson that would cover anything. It wasn't just, you know, the Yowies. It was any kind of cryptid stuff, weird archaeology. He has his own counter to the out of Africa theory, the out of Australia theory, because of Australopithecus. It's from Australia, right? So he kind of decided that, yeah, they were wrong, and, you know, the originators of humankind came from Australia. So that's interesting, too. But anyway, my condolences to Rex and to his widow, all of his fans. I'm really sad that he died because I was hoping to get him on my show at some point, but yeah, that's not going to happen now. Unless I get Robin to help me. Robin!
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Here's a sighting from Blackfoot County Glacier. It's Blackfeet Country, excuse me, the Blackfeet tribe is Glacier County, Montana. Signs of a Sasquatch were found wandering all around Cutbank Creek in Blackfeet County and Glacier County. Blackfeet Country, Glacier County, Montana, March 2006. Bruce Schultz, who lived in the nearby Kiowa camp, took his children to play in the snow in the area when they were startled to find the tracks frozen solid in snow, ice, and mud. Schultz counted 30 or 40 tracks that each measured 18 inches long and 10 inches wide, stride length averaging about 39 inches. Photographs were taken and presented to the Blackfoot Fish and Wildlife Director, Gail Skuncap. Skuncap said they asked the director if it was okay to shoot the creature, but she said shooting is likely unnecessary since no record of an attack on any person has ever been recorded, and people should consider that they might be shooting at someone playing a practical joke. Someone could get hurt. Well, yeah. Someone could definitely get hurt. Could be the person firing the gun.
We don't want that.
No. Could be the person firing the gun that's the one that gets hurt, too. That's the scary thing about it here. Oh, Lord. Here we go. The Zuni Indians. Cannibal man, the evil thing. Adasaya is a term the Zuni Indians used to describe their rendition of the Sasquatch. They're one of the Pueblo tribes residing on the bank of the Rio Zuni near the border of New Mexico and in the adjoining villages of Nutria, Ojo Caliente, and Pescado. The name Zuni is a Spanish corruption of the Carasan Sunifisti, which was first used by Antonio de Espada in 1583, blah, blah, more history you don't care about. The Zuni natives, however, call themselves Ashiwi Indians, and they know their territory as Shawona. The term Adasaya translates cannibal man, the evil thing. Many Native American terms for Bigfoot-like creatures translate the same with little variation. It was an Ashiwi woman who notified me their track sightings in New Mexico, Sunday, January 30th, 2005. She and her oldest son saw tracks from the ski lift at Angel Fire Ski Resort that crossed under the lift and trailed off into the trees. The track line was straight, no snow was kicked up, and she estimated the depth of the fresh snow on the level of the mountain was about 15 inches deep. The woman told me she was a Shiwi and Spanish heritage, and her maternal great-grandmother, whose parents were inhabitants of the Shawona territory in what is now New Mexico, first warned her family of the great Adasaya. They believe that Adasaya is a bad spirit, hair-covered cannibal giant that kidnaps little children of eating size and women of marriageable or suitable age. They take them away to their lair in the tallest mountains and make wives out of them or cook and eat them at a celebration meal for their kind. They also say a few captives have been released for reasons unknown to tribal members. Those who endured this captivity didn't always return in great physical condition. There was testimony that a few were reportedly physically frail, much thinner than when they were captured. The women were pale and sallow-looking. Many had a consumption type of cough, suggestive of being held in inhospitable conditions with poor air circulation. Consumption, of course, is very old terminology for tuberculosis. The Ashiwi believe it is a bad portent of things. Bad portent of things to come, and the great Adasaya makes an appearance. The belief in Sasquatch kidnapping behavior tends to be a conviction that recurs among many tribes. It's apparently a common theme not only among Native Americans, but First Nation people as well. And before you start thinking that all the reports are negative, there was an interesting one from around this area of a 10-year-old kid who was out at his grandpa's ranch helping his grandpa. And he went to get something for grandpa, and he cut across this one pasture that he should not have gone into. The pasture only had one tenant. It was a very big, very aggressive bull that would squish anybody, and the kid didn't realize it was there until he was going across the pasture and it went after him. Well, not being able to make it to the fence line in time, his only other option was to climb the one lone tree that was still in this enclosure, which he did. The bull immediately started butting the tree, trying to knock him out of it. And he started screaming for help. His grandpa was a good mile away up at the house. And after enough butting and screaming, apparently his grandpa finally noticed that this was going on, jumped in his vehicle and started coming down the road as fast as he could. But by this time, the bull had almost knocked the tree over. The kid wasn't hanging that far off the ground. And as soon as he hit the ground, he was going to get squashed. So he figured he was about to die, and all of a sudden this big furry thing came running by, swatted the bull, upon which time the bull did a complete 360 spin and landed on the ground unconscious. The big object picked the kid out of the tree and put him on the other side of the fence line, then stepped on the bull's head to make sure it was dead.
Well, of course it did. Of course it did. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Thank you for a great report tonight. Coming up next to the Dave 101, Smoke Reflection. Not getting off my lawn tonight. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job, Super Duke.
I didn't get to finish it, but that last story was confirmed by the kid's grandpa, who was driving down the road in the truck trying to get there and save the kid, and saw the Sasquatch jump over the fence, come running up, swat the bull, spinning it 360 degrees, knocking it senseless, and then after he took the kid out of the tree and put him over the fence, went back and stepped on its head and crushed it to make sure the bull was dead. So, and then it did was a reversed process, ran out of the fence line where it had come in and back into the woods again. And apparently Grandpa was in such a hurry to get there, he almost like hit the kid. He slammed on the brakes and almost took out the fence. So, yeah, they were both shaken up, but they were also shaken up about that Bigfoot being able to swat that bull with one hand. And this is a female. The kid estimated, and the grandpa estimated, about 8 feet tall. So not a particularly huge alpha male. Still capable of spinning a bull 360 degrees with a swat.
Oh, man.
Do not underestimate how strong they are. They are ridiculously strong. Even the average size female ones could, tip your car over if they want to. Don't forget the other story we heard about the sighting where that one Bigfoot was chasing after that coyote and chased him right through a herd of buffalo. And the one buffalo tried to butt him, and he just stiff-armed him like a football player and squished his head in the ground and kept running. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll be on Spaced Out Radio After Hours on Sunday, filling in for Danielle Diva, who will be filling in for me next Thursday. And Tuesday, Robin McCrae will be filling in for me, which will be an awesome, awesome show because you're going to have Melba, Dr. Melba Ketchum on here, which I'm having on my show Sunday, too.
Beautiful.
Right on, man.
Appreciate you, buddy. You
Take care.
You head to North Carolina or to Nebraska.
Yep, I'll be getting video of it. We're stopping at... like I said, Wild Bill Hickok's grave, and we're going to get video of that. And apparently, Calamity Jane's buried right next to him because they were married supposedly. So we'll get some video of that. We'll show all this stuff to you guys when we get back from our Finding Bigfoot expedition. Take care, everyone. Love you.
Love you too, Ben. Take care. That's Super Duke for World Bigfoot Radio, right there. How good is that? How good is that? That's why we love him. That's why we love old Super Dukey. Super Duke. Super Duke. That's right. Good dude. That's Super Duke. Hi, Robin McCrae. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't know if Random Guy is still here, but Random Guy, if you are, you got aliens. You got aliens, Random Guy. Yeah, you do. No denying it. You got aliens. Hi, beautiful Robin McCrae. I love you, dear. You're amazing. That's right, Susie B. The poll doesn't lie. Random Guy got aliens. Oh. Are you going to the show there, Andrew? Oh. Yes, we wish Robin McCrae was coming to Vegas. We do. Random Gee. That's right. Random Gee. Thank you for the reminder, Brown Dwarf. Appreciate you, buddy. There he is. Look at him. All of a sudden, his ears were ringing. Yeah, look at that. Oh, Random Gee. Hey, you got aliens, buddy. You got aliens. Oh, buddy. Big thank you to David ×2, Bigfoot Rob ×2, Pam H, Simon, and Louie for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you very much for the love and support, everyone. And yes, random guy, you're right. It does need to be made into a t-shirt. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night where I yell, "Get off my lawn!" It's a Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Pardon me if I get a little emotional tonight, because twice a year I make a plea to our audience to get help. Get help when you need help. And the reason why I do this twice a year is to honor my nephew. His name was Bryce, where today would have been his 34th birthday if he didn't run into a devil called fentanyl back in 2018 when he passed away on July 17th. I do this twice a year because my heart is still heavy 5 years later, or nearly 5 years later. And for many of you out there who have lost loved ones, whether to tragedy, whether to cancer, whether to drugs and alcohol, we all share the same pain in going through what we go through. Now, on this show, we talk a lot about the strange, the weird, and the obtuse, topics that are normally fringe in the way of the way life goes on a daily basis. But every now and again, I have to bring things into reality because, once again, just like many of you, my heart is heavy today. I was 15 years old when my nephew was born, and my sister, who's 10 years older than me, gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. And I found out during break time while I was in high school. And I couldn't concentrate the rest of the day. First thing Uncle Dave does after school is I hopped on the school bus, or not on the school bus, on the city bus, and I rode into town with my buddy because I had to go get my nephew a little pair of Nike shoes. And I remember them clearly. They were Velcro strapped with 2 Velcro straps. They were rainbow in color. They were mainly white, but the soles were red, yellow, green, orange, and blue. And I couldn't wait for him to grow into them. I couldn't wait to teach him how to skate. I was going to be, and I tried my hardest to be, the best uncle ever. My nephew didn't have the best of lives because my sister had her own problems, and so did his father. Just like many families, this one was torn up by alcohol, by drugs. And my nephew, unfortunately, never had the childhood that many should at that age. His parents weren't there for him, but between grandpa and grandma and his uncle, which is me, We tried really hard to give him a good life. But sometimes as people grow up, they get involved with the wrong crowd. They get involved with the wrong people. My nephew was known as a tough kid, even though he was only 5'10". He was known as a kid who really could take a lot of pain. Problem is, the wrong people took advantage of that. And eventually, it went from free dinners to free drugs. He was in rehab when he passed away. He needed a fix. He snuck out and decided to go get high one last time. And the one thing that I've learned about fentanyl on the street is that you could have a little baggie, I think that's what they're called, and you could share that baggie with someone. The one person will get the stuff that's good and gives you a high, whereas the other one takes that lethal overdose sniff, snort, or injection. My family wasn't lucky that day, and my nephew became a statistic. And that bothers me. It bothers me a lot because nobody in life should end up a statistic. And the one thing that I learned, because I was one of these idiots who, when I saw homeless people or I saw people struggling, I was one of these idiots who would say, "Get the hell out of here. Don't bug me, you bum. Go get a job." And I was kicking their souls back down, just like everybody else does on a daily basis. I didn't even think that those people had souls, that they had a mother and father who loved them, maybe out there. And if their parents were gone, maybe siblings or grandparents or uncles and aunts or friends that just want that one extra bit of time with them. My nephew, if you looked at him, you would never have sworn he was an addict. He was always very clean cut. He was always very much in shape. He was always lifting weights. He was always making sure he smelled good, he looked good. But his dark, dirty secret was fentanyl, the devil's drug. I want to remind people that this drug is a liar. It's a liar because it tells you it makes you feel good. It's going to make things better. It's going to make things okay. It's going to take you to places that you've never been before, and it's going to make things all right. But just like the devil, it lies every time. It gets people addicted. It gets people to die. I miss my nephew every day. 29 years old is way too young to die. And I remember at his funeral where I stood up and I spoke in front of him, a bunch of people. There was probably 300-400 people there. And I looked at a lot of the souls who were recovering, who came to support our family, who were in positions in rehab just like my nephew. Some were rich, some were poor, some came from university backgrounds, some came from construction backgrounds, some were educated, some were not. But the one thing they all had in common was addiction. And the one thing that I learned about addicts, whether they're on the street or whether they're living in your own home or apartment building or wherever, they have value. And we forget because we get so upset by someone hitting us up for some spare change or someone hitting us up for a free meal. We get so upset because we're so much better than them that we forget that they are human beings. and every human has value. My nephew forgot he had value. He forgot about the love. He forgot about anything because drugs make you selfish. They really do. You don't mean to. The addict doesn't mean to. But they make you very, very selfish. Where all you think about is you. Because deep down, that addiction, whether it's alcohol, whether it's cocaine, whether it's fentanyl, heroin, whatever it may be, it tells you deep down that I'm the only one who cares about you. Screw your family. Screw your friends. I'm the most important thing in your life. I will make sure that you're always feeling better. Fentanyl is a liar. It is a devil. And it creates horrific statistics. The drug dealers are killing their own supply or their own purchasers, their own clients, but they know there's always going to be more. So they don't care. The so-called friends that my nephew had, I'm pretty sure if you counted their body count, it's probably like a serial killer. Am I still mad? Hell yeah, I'm mad. I don't have my nephew. I grew up with him. And when you become an uncle at 15 years old, and your best friend is a little baby, and then as you grow up, he grows up, you miss that love. You miss those stories. You miss everything. But the one message that I have for all of you out there is one of changing your way of thinking. Next time you see a homeless person, next time you have somebody coming up and asking you politely if you could spare change or help them buy a coffee or help them get something to eat. Even if you can't afford it, acknowledge that person politely. Even if you choose not to help them, treat them like a human with respect. That is someone's brother, someone's sister, someone's niece, someone's nephew, someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's great-grandchild, someone's grandchild. That person deserves to be loved. Just like you do. Just because you may have a job, drive a nice vehicle, you may have $5,000 in the bank, you may have $100,000 in the bank, you may have a buck. It doesn't make you better than someone living on the street. Someone who has accidentally taken the wrong path because they were shown the wrong path in life. Oh, yes, we all have our demons. We all have our wrong way of thinking. But the way we can make it better is by improving ourselves. The way we can make it better is by remembering the ones who we've lost due to tragedy, due to drugs, due to alcohol, and try and make it better for the next person. Everybody deserves to be acknowledged. Everybody deserves to be accounted for. These lost souls that are on the streets, they don't want to be there. They would love to have a normal life, but the demons have taken over. And for some of them, it's already too late. Their next stop from the streets is into a body bag. And that sucks. It's a harsh reality that addicts live every single day. For my nephew, he wanted to live. He wanted to get better. He wanted to be someone successful, where people looked at him in a positive way rather than a negative way of what harm he had caused in his mind in the past. You know what? That harm that he felt he caused, it was nothing compared to having to have him die on us. I'm still angry over it. And if you've lost someone due to drugs or alcohol, you'll know the feeling that I have too. We need more compassion because remember, whether it's addicts, whether it's people suffering from depression, anxiety, whatever it may be, sometimes a simple hello or a simple, hey, I'm thinking about you, or hey, I love you, can be the biggest boost of confidence that anybody can have for that day. You don't know what other people are going through, neither do I. But the key is, if you can do me a favor and my family a favor, as we live through being a statistic, next time you see someone who needs some help, just stop and say hello. Stop and say, you're worthy. You have value. Because in the end, we all have value. But we just have to have the decency as humanity to show it for others. I love you, Stu. See you in the next round. That's your Dave 101.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's News!
All right, let's get right to it. A man in China has been sentenced to 6 months in jail for scaring 1,100 of his neighbor's chickens to death. The man, identified only by his surname, Gu, yes, Gu, snuck onto his neighbor Zhang's property and used a flashlight to frighten the chickens in the first incident. The light caused the chickens to flee to a corner of the coop where they trampled over each other trying to escape the brightness. The incident stemmed from a months-long feud between the neighbors that first began in April of last year when Gu cut down Zhang's trees without permission. The first encounter with the chickens resulted in 500 of the fowl dying. Gu was arrested in order to pay Zhang 3,000 yuan or $586, but the angry neighbor wasn't finished. No, Gu returned to Zhang's chicken farm and used the killer flashlight once again, causing the deaths of 640 more chickens. Yeah, the 1,100 chickens that died in the two incidents were worth about $2,700 in American money. The Henyang County Court ruled that Gu intentionally caused Zhang to suffer property loss. In addition to the 6-month jail term, he will be on probation for a year. Always check your pockets before doing a load of laundry or putting wet clothes in the dryer. Why? You might just blow up the machine, literally, as a Spanish man found out the hard way. The unnamed man nearly died when the machine he had just filled up and turned on at the laundromat caught fire and exploded seconds after he walked out the door. Footage emerged online of the incident, which happened back in March in a Corona located in northern Spain. The dryer suddenly stopped and its door swung open before it burst into flames. The laundromat's windows blew out and a sign fell, but nobody was hurt. Reports say the man had left a lighter in his pocket of his pants, and that's what caused the blast. Butane in lighters can be highly flammable. It was mayhem at an Ohio Chipotle restaurant where customers went crazy after not getting what they wanted. Yeah, the suspect wanted more cheese and allegedly became irate when they didn't get more cheese. Yes, because, cheese is always a reason to brawl it out at Chipotle. The suspects allegedly cornered an employee and snatched her hat. Yep, she wasn't having any of that. No, she wasn't. Yeah, it was on. Took a serious turn. Other employees tried to help and get involved, but the suspect then pulled a gun while a cohort allegedly said, "Shoot them! Shoot 'em all. Scarily, the witnesses said the suspect would have fired, but his gun malfunctioned. The suspects then proceeded to ransack the restaurant, throwing chairs and trash cans. They also stole a cell phone from another patron at the restaurant before getting into a vehicle and fleeing the scene. The suspects have still not been caught. Who does that? Who does that? I don't get it. A Louisiana State University Tigers fan was arrested after allegedly stealing multiple cases of beer from the school's stadium. 19-year-old Bryce Tallada was recently booked on a simple burglary charge. Yet reports say that Tallada and other college-age males allegedly lifted several cases of beer around 3 a.m. one morning last month. They were allegedly caught carrying the beer and fled from police. Surveillance video captured men loading the beer into Tallada's truck. Officers tracked it to a first-year residence, and Tallada allegedly admitted to stealing the brew worth around $2,000 after police found the beer in his room. A bride in India nearly got burned in a wedding stunt that went really, really wrong. Bride and groom were trying to pose with sparkling guns in an apparent homage to James Bond, but her gun shot fire into the air and then into her face. The bride's dress was nearly caught on fire as well. The video, which was shared on Twitter by someone named Aditi, wrote, "I don't know what's wrong with people these days. They are treating wedding days more like parties, and this is how they ruin a perfect day." Who does that? Who thinks that's a good idea? I don't. Oh my gosh. What a way to ruin your special day. Let's shoot some fire out. And it lands on my face and dress. Oh, well. Big thank you to our good friend Swamp Dweller for another great story tonight, to Super Duke for World Bigfoot Radio for hanging on out with us and taking us down the Cryptid Report journey, and of course to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Pardon me. Make sure you do us a favor. Go hit subscribe on his YouTube channel. Oh, we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up with the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, LinkedIn, and on Twitter, #SpacedOutRadio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Woohoo! Let me catch my breath here, if you don't mind. I wear this hat twice a year. That was my nephew's. And I wear it on the day of his birth, and I wear it on the day of his death. That's it. Funny part about it is this hat here that I'm wearing is also my nephew's too. He had a good selection in caps. But this one I wear is my daily. There's a reason for that, but I'll just keep that one to myself. Yeah. Lane Layer, how you doing? Simon, I didn't even see your comments. Sorry about that. Hey, Guy, Calgary, how you doing? Gemma Jackson, how are you? All right, let's take out those. And good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. Good morning to you. All right, what do you guys want to chat about? You picked the topic. We will talk in Vegas. Oh, Shelly, you're coming? Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Luscious Jules. Love you, dear. Anita Lebichuk. Lebchuk? No, Lebichuk. Good Ukrainian name right there. Good Ukrainian name. Vistasmos gras to you. We're almost at 22,000. Woohoo! Shelly and I are going to celebrate our birthdays together in Vegas. Very cool. Thank you, Jose. Thank you. God, I can't wait for Vegas. It's going to be such a great little vacation. Okay, so that was 10:39. So this is going to be 9:30 to 10. Jessica Davenport with a silent J. Don't know why she likes the silent J, but she does. Jessica Davenport. Yes, it has stopped snowing. Finally. And a lot of wind lately, though. I don't like wind. I can handle any temperature and any weather except wind. Hi, Sarah Yan. How are you?
I feel good. Thanks for asking.
Well, I'm glad you responded through my phone there, Sarah Young. That was weird. So weird. Okay, so 2 should be done. Yes. Oh, 82 degrees. I'm so happy if it hits about 40, 45 here right now. Mundo Anomalo, welcome to SOR Chat. Oh, it's Felipe. How you doing, buddy? Most folks don't. See, it takes a Ukrainian to know a Ukrainian name. Hlebichuk. Hlebichuk. You guys in your warm temperatures. Shame on you. Those nice warm temperatures. Oh, weird, Jenny. What are you talking about? Oh, this one here? No, that's just on the jacket. There's no Ferraris in my area, man. Too many bumpy roads. I think this is the only place where you would see a Ferrari with a 6-inch lift and 33-inch mags. All right, there goes that one. Man, this seems to be taking forever tonight on the editing. I don't know why. You people in your warm weather. 22 Celsius down there. Oh, very nice. See, that's the perfect temperature there, Felipe. That is 22 Celsius. You don't need anything over 24 is just a waste of heat, in my opinion. So 22 Celsius would be about 74 degrees. That's it. Anything over 74 degrees is a waste of heat. No need. Good part about it is the lower part of my backyard has now melted. I'm down to from 2.5 feet of snow in my backyard. I'm down to about 3 to 4 inches. Yep, she's a melting quick, which is nice. Very nice. Oh, where's the ending here? There it is, right there. Oh, shoot. Did I do that? Yes, I did do that. This one here. Trim the other one. I always forget sometimes of these swear words. Give me 2 seconds. I have to. So 10:39. 10:39. So we start at 35, 45, 43. We're 139 should be around here.
And only present the facts. We don't editorialize. We don't offer any opinion unless it's positively stated as such. And quotes, news reports, police reports. Sorry, I said a bad word there. Make stuff. Quotes, news reports, police reports, things like that. Because some of there are some lesser channels that just kind of make shit up and quote shit up and make shit up and oops, sorry. Make shit up and oops, sorry. Kind of make shit up and oops, sorry, I said a bad word there. Make stuff up. Believe me, there, Dave. That just make stuff up and.
That's one.
And yeah, he was scared.
All right, let's go to Delilah here.
We want to put out there, but we have to know what they are before we could report them. Takes research and effort.
I agree, my friend.
When he came to, if that's what you want to, manufacture out of whole cloth makeup things about unless you were an eyewitness that you couldn't have known. And so again, just Joe Friday used to say on Dragnet, just the facts, man. And then that's all we want to put out there. But we have to know what they are before we could report them. Takes research and effort.
I agree, my friend.
Sorry about that, Dave.
That's all right. Well,
we want to put out there, make stuff up and oops, sorry, I said about reports, police reports, things like that. Because some of there are some lesser channels that just kind of make stuff up and oops, sorry, I said a bad word there. Make stuff up. Believe me, there, Dave.
There's that one.
Into that and get back to you. And if there's enough info there, make a video about it. I like to wait sometimes on those breaking cases. We try to err on the side of caution and only present quotes, news reports, police. Because some of there are some lesser channels that just kind of make shit up. That just kind of make shit up. Kind of make. Oops, sorry, I said a bad word there. Make stuff up. Believe me, there, Dave.
There we go. All right. Now I can concentrate on you guys. Guy Calgary, you're very right. You're very right. My basement in the summer is like a cellar. It is so nice. Thank you, T2E. Thank you for your lovely super chat, by the way. And Shelly, thank you for your lovely super chat. I didn't get a chance to say anything yet, but I wanted to. Oh, Nancy Hayes, editing sucks. Editing sucks. But what do you do? What do you do? I just got rid of my single panes, Derek Galloway. I'll tell you, made for a warmer winter. I didn't know the impact that windows and doors would have on the heat of a house. It is amazing. Trying to find something for you here. Nothing. What's happening at Rosie's pan? Come on. Nothing. Bring back the hippo. Let's go to Tembe. We got elephants. We got elephants. Present. Share screen. Share. Like that. That. Okay, I'll be right back. Pammy Smith, I did not see that. We having fun yet? I wonder if elephants get abducted. I wonder if they do. That's a good question. Anita wants to know where everybody is from. Where are you from, Anita? Are you from Vegreville, Alberta? You're in Washington State. Very cool. Mexico City. That's awesome. Jessica, what was at the Strawberry Festival? What, are you in a band? I've got like 100, almost 100 Pasanki eggs. You work for a carnival. Very cool. one's done. That one's done. Let's get this one started. One second. Move this over here. Close that up. And let's get this one started. All right, there we go. The hard part about it is in my area, I was talking to my dad about this earlier today, and he was having troubles finding people who were making Ukrainian Easter eggs anymore, because it's such an old tradition, and many of the younger generation isn't doing it anymore. It's like a forgotten art. That one done. Almost done here. Almost done. On that note, we're going to say goodnight to all of you. Tomorrow night on the show, Reverend Karen E. Herrick is with us. We are going to be talking about the psychology of the soul. Psychology of the soul. It's going to be a great show tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. 3 hours of fun. We'll have little Timmy Senor come on in, along with Random Guy later on for some overtime. Big thank you tonight to Shelly T. Tui, David ×2, Pam H., Rob ×2, Simon, and Louie. And don't forget, you only have 2 more days to get your tickets, your VIP tickets, that is, for our Vegas party, May 19th through 21st. next month in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget. We want to make sure that all of you are there. So message us at spacedoutradio@gmail.com or info@spacedoutradio.com. Much love to all of you. We will see you all tomorrow night. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.